What's up, Internet? My name's Nerdy.
And I'm Clarus.
This is our spoiler chat for Spider-Man There's No Way Home, but there is a way to talk spoilers, and it is by telling people that there are spoilers in this video before you say them. Spoilers. Don't ruin this for people. This movie's amazing. That is right. Welcome back to a live. So live that our computer is upset that Java's like, I need to talk to you. Our live spoiler chat for Spider-Man No Way Home. It is a movie that if you saw our non-spoiler review, you know we enjoyed a lot.
A lot. Yeah, this and it's not just us. People all across the world seem to be very happy with this movie.
Yeah.
So that is really nice to see. I've seen some people say that it's the best Marvel movie. Like it's
definitely in competition for that.
Yeah, like one of their favorites. And I have to agree. I think that the quality of this movie is very high. Yeah.
Yeah, I was really struck by how emotional it was and how much payoff the many things that we are going to talk about here ended up having.
Yeah.
I think that this movie could have very easily ventured into being a carousel of nostalgia. Where it's just like, and look at this, and look at this, and look at this. And nothing that they introduced felt unnecessary to the telling of the plot, and therefore it felt very much a part of the movie in a way that was a little bit deeper, and you know, it had a lot of message tied to everything in it, which I think made it a very successful use of the pieces that it brought into the movie.
Yeah, 100%. Hi guys in chat. Richard Sim says it's number 8 on IMDb's top 250. So. Okay,
it's a little soon, but sure.
Well.
It is the winner for the number one. It's the number one best December opening of all time. Best opening weekend in December ever. Beat The Force Awakens. And it is the number 2 opening of all time. $260 million domestic opening weekend in the United States and Canada, putting it just $7 million or $100 million behind Endgame, which opened at $350 million. Yes.
Wild.
And there are people speculating that without the pandemic, it might have done something close to that, and I don't think they're wrong.
Yeah, for sure. I know a lot of people who haven't seen it yet because they don't feel safe or comfortable. What?
Just trying to hide some of the
window.
Oh, that's too.
Oh wow!
It's live. Yeah, so wild.
Yeah.
But we're here to talk about spoilers, so let's get into the movie from the very beginning. We start the film off right where the last one ended. Michelle Jones Watson. What a nice touch that was. What a nice touch for her to finally be MJW.
Yeah.
It is very interesting that this movie brings in a lot more actual Spider-Man canon. It's the first time we've heard her last name. It's also the first time that we found out that her name is actually the MJ, and MJ is a hyphenated last name.
Yeah. And for me, I was kind of like, okay, but I'm sure for comics readers, like, yeah.
Well, Michelle Jones Watson doesn't exist in comics, right? She's an entirely new character.
I see what you're saying.
Chat disconnected.
Great. I'll pull it up on my phone.
Hopefully our internet's still alive. No, in the comics, she's Mary Jane Watson. Jane is her middle name. And so when they created this character for No Way Home, she was Michelle, but she was Michelle J. And that was kind of all we knew up until now. Now she is Mary Jane, or Michelle Jones Watson. But rather than Jones be a middle name, it is a hyphenated last name. And that is a nice touch.
Gotcha.
It is a very contemporary way of having that kind of name, right?
Yeah.
When Spider-Man characters were created, there were no hyphenated last names.
Right, because you took the male last name.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that.
Yeah. So it's just a fun way to bring this Spider-Man into the modern world and to have some modern context on top of the diversity that this franchise added to the Spider-Man canon.
For sure. Yeah. So we start off the movie right where we left off at the end of Far From Home. Sorry, they're all home names.
So much so that it's literally like the end of the last movie plays under the Sony credits at the beginning.
Which is great.
Yeah. And we hear J. Jonah Jameson. He gives that like
Spider-Man.
Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And we see we start off kind of crazy here, right? Because Peter drops Michelle Jones off into this crowd. And then the crowd sees that she was just dropped off and that Peter Parker's Spider-Man. And so they're like, oh, you know Spider-Man.
Are you Spider-Man's girlfriend?
And this one girl in that crowd is so aggressive.
I know. She's like the Karen that we all hate. And then she grabs her and Peter like takes her away and she's like, Spider-Man hit me. Spider-Man hit me.
She yells, let's see what's under that mask, and she grabs him. And he pushes her off of him. Okay. And she's like, let's see what's under that mask. And I'm like, ma'am, that is a superhero. Even if I was just like, ma'am, you're really gonna
human being.
Well, that, but also like he has superpowers. Be a little bit careful. And then we see they take off, and the guy jumps off of the cab, and
he like flings himself to try and catch them swinging away. And I was like, what
was your plan, dude?
You were just gonna grab onto an ankle and what?
I mean, I guess he was like, I want to come too.
I mean, I guess it would be fun, but like that is next level.
Yeah, you're gonna hurt yourself. You're going to hurt yourself.
Yeah, that scene was so chaotic. I was like, I don't like it.
But it was a good way to start it was a good way to start the film off with people immediately, especially New Yorkers who can be a little bit nosy. The people immediately kind of like jump down his throat about it.
Yeah.
And even up close and personal like that, when you should be a little bit careful because there's a chance he's a murderer. Like the information that these characters all just learned about him is that he murdered a superhero.
Yeah. And they don't care at all.
Not at all.
Nobody is even a little bit scared of him.
Because that's New York, baby.
Yeah, they do not give a crap, and it's kind of funny. Like it's absurd. You know,
Richardson in the chat is saying, what did you think was under the mask? His face was just on a giant billboard.
I know.
That's a great point.
Yeah. No, I'm like, what do you mean what's under the mask? You just saw it. That scene gave me anxiety. And then they have to like swing home. And like then there's literal like helicopters outside.
Yeah.
Like
I was with look, I think swinging with Spider-Man would be fun. But swinging through the subway with Spider-Man would be worse.
No, I hate
close.
it. I hate it.
It's too close.
I don't like heights scare me, even though I do like rides. So I don't know.
Would you ride Spider-Man though?
I would ride any of them.
Really?
What?
I don't know.
I mean, Toby before. He's a little old for me now.
Oh yeah, I was like, he's like, you know.
No,
like
yeah, not right now. But like,
I'd ride Toby right now.
But like Spider-Man 1, you know, it'd be like,
So we get to Peter Parker's house, and
and
Jon Favreau is giving a masterclass in comedic crying.
Oh yeah, and so we see Aunt May breaking up with Happy. And he can't like process it. She's like, we'll hang out soon. He's like, okay, but when?
Yeah, he's a soft boy, okay? Mm-hmm. Happy is a soft boy. Mm-hmm. And it's awesome. I liked the portrayal of Happy in this movie. I thought it was very funny.
Yeah. It was very sweet. It was very silly though.
And we go on a roller coaster with him, right? Like he really he ends up being a bigger part of this movie than you expect, up until his final beat, which we'll talk about at the end, obviously. But I actually really like the arc they did with Happy, including he's getting dumped, and there's a noise. I gotta go check on that. Like I've gotta. He really uses everything he can to stay in May's life. And you get the feeling that like this is a much bigger relation for him.
Yeah.
And he
and for Aunt May,
he's like, being a little, he's being a little facetious about it. But I understood. I can relate to that, dude. You gotta fight for what you love, man. Yeah. And he does. And he walks in on Peter to go check on that noise, and
he's in his underwear.
My favorite part about this whole scene, there's this whole scene in the living room, and Aunt May and Happy find out. But my favorite part about it is that Peter puts on a shirt but does not put on pants.
I know, yeah. He covers up his nipples, but I'm in my boxers. It's fine. Like, I was like, all right. I mean, it's a long shirt, so it's like, whatever. It's also the shirt from the first movie, which I thought was very funny.
I mean, it was just funny to me because I was like, hey, there's people outside with video cameras trying to take pictures of you.
Yeah, helicopters
Put
outside.
pants on.
Yeah.
Because those helicopters are trying to take pictures of you, get video of you. You don't want to be pantsless on the news.
Yeah, it's...
You just don't. Let me give you some advice, kids. You don't want to be pantsless on the news. I don't know why I'm doing so many voices today. It's because it's New York, eh?
Yeah, that's it.
I was hoping they were going to bring back Andrew Garfield saying, I'm swinging here, at some point in the movie from Amazing Spider-Man.
Oh, I forgot. He does that.
They never did. I sad.
Forgot that.
This movie,
funny.
Despite taking place in New York, has no New York in it. It's kind of surprising. It is so obviously not filmed in New York, and it cracked me up the whole time.
Well, yeah, it's mostly indoors. Except for, the first opening scene when they swing through New York. That's kind of the most that you see...
100%,
of the city, other than the Statue of Liberty, I guess.
Yes, the Statue of American Liberty.
Yes, that they're putting a Captain America shield on.
Which I thought was going to play more into that finale, but we'll get there.
Yeah, it's fine.
So
everybody knows that Spider-Man is Peter Parker, and that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and so he gets arrested.
This is where the movie starts to move real fast.
Yeah.
For good reason. And I liked it because nothing felt like bloat in this film to me. Nothing felt like it took too long. It felt really tight. And this was where that started, where you have Peter, he gets, they like quickly montage to Damage Control showing up. Damage Control comes. Damage Control is no longer a Tony Stark company. It's a department of the government. When did that happen? No idea.
Yeah.
But that is a huge change from Spider-Man Homecoming to now. I guess that they need like a superhero department.
I mean, yeah. At this point, New York has been destroyed this many times, yes.
But this is where things get real interesting. They get arrested, and there's a lot in the interrogation sequence that's just very typical. It's what you expect the conversations to be. But there's a couple of tidbits we have to talk about because they are big Marvel moments, right?
Yes.
The first is the Damage Control investigator says Nick Fury wasn't there. He has been off-world for a year. And my eyes were like as large as my face.
Yeah.
I was like, first of all, Damage Control, this means that Damage Control knows where he is and why he's off-world.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Also, it means that Nick Fury has someone pretending to be him on Earth, but he didn't tell anyone. And that is super weird to do, my dude.
Yeah. So I think that's going to... I don't know if that'll come back in the next Doctor Strange movie, but perhaps whatever comes in after that.
I'm pretty sure it's them starting to set up Secret Wars.
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain that this is all set up for Secret Wars.
Yeah, like I don't think that moment is going to have payoff for a while, but it is interesting to note that information is given to us here.
I don't know. Secret Wars might be next. Well, actually, no, because Kamala Khan's... So, Miss Marvel is going to be over the summer, so that would maybe be next winter. That might be in the, Hawkeye slot next year. Because they're filming it now, right? Emilia Clarke is filming that right now. So that's actually going to be really interesting. But yeah, the Nick Fury's been off-world for a year a bit. Because I was like, Nick Fury can clear all of this up.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not Nick Fury. It's... I was about to call him Tarvalon, but that's the place from... Oh my god, what's the guy? What's the Skrull's name?
Skrull?
Yeah.
Oh god, I don't know.
Oh my god. Chat, if anyone remembers what the Skrull's name is, who's from Ben Mendelsohn's character from Captain Marvel. But the other like really interesting bit from this interrogation scene is the one that the spell at the end is very important too. And this character's death, and we'll talk about her death later, but Aunt May being threatened with child endangerment charges is devastating.
Yeah.
Talos. Thank you, Richard Sims.
Here we go.
Yeah, Talos is... Because Talos could clear it up, but Talos isn't a human and is impersonating someone that Damage Control knows isn't there. So that is fascinating.
Right. Sorry, I'm just... Okay.
But yeah, Aunt May getting that child endangerment charge... You know, obviously it gets cleared up by the movie for devastating reasons, but yeah. Yeah, the other thing I really want to talk about in the interrogation sequence is Ned.
Ned, you dum-dum. Oh my god, he was so easy to manipulate. Like so easy. And I can't say I'm surprised. It very much it's very much his character.
Oh, and it was great comedy for the movie.
It was very funny. But yeah, God, I was like, no, shut up. Like, I was MJ in the scene. No, shut up.
I also really love the beat of having MJ and May say, "Don't say anything without your lawyer" together. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Peter is surrounded by strong female people who, he needs that strong hand on his lower back to push him into the right situation. You know what I mean? Yeah. And honestly, Aunt May is that throughout this movie in a huge way that I think will end up being controversial.
You think so?
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get to that conversation.
Interesting.
But before we do, we have to talk about the next scene. Massive scene. Despite the fact that it is 4 people at a table, but absolutely massive. Because what's next? We got to talk about the law. And you know who you need if you're talking about the law and you're in New York. It's my boy, Charlie Cox, back as Matt Murdock. Not Daredevil, just Matt Murdock. Mm-hmm. And he's sitting at that table. He's got his glasses on. And he's giving out that law advice because he's a very good lawyer. Yeah.
The part where he caught the brick was very funny. Mm-hmm. It was nice that they threw a little something in there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But oh man, the theater that we were in last night for the IMAX version, was so happy. It was very fun.
And what I found so fascinating the first time we saw it is that you turned to me and you were like, I don't know what's going on.
Because I've never seen Daredevil. Haven't watched it. So I was like, I'm assuming this is someone important. Mm-hmm. But, yeah.
So, do you have any familiarity with Daredevil as a character at all?
No. Can you not see?
That's a tough question to answer. That's actually legitimately a hard question to answer.
Cool.
Daredevil, depending on the origin story, Daredevil is blind, but he has echolocation.
Okay.
Essentially.
Cool.
So he has heightened ability to be aware, but he can't physically see.
Gotcha.
But he can read the environment with his ears.
Yes, okay.
I know understand. it sounds insane.
And
in the comic books he gets radioactive sludge doused on him, which is how he has powers.
Gotcha.
In the television show they don't really show it. He just is Daredevil at the beginning of the series. Mm-hmm. But unless I'm forgetting a scene. But yeah, there is radioactive sludge involved in the comics, like there always was back then.
Right.
But yeah, no, he can't
Toxic
see, but
waste.
he totally can.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Interesting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't know who it was, but it was a cool moment for everyone else in the theater, and and yeah. Very. I do like that they did have a moment of him just catching the brick, like a little something, so that people like me who wouldn't have recognized the character, that they know something is up. Yeah. Right.
How did you do that? Smart. I'm a very good lawyer. Yeah. It is funny because our reactions to that moment were so different because I literally cheered.
Oh, yeah.
I was almost out of my seat. Mm-hmm. I think Daredevil Season 3 is a perfect season of television. I love it so much. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, this!
Literally like that. And I was like, am I supposed to know that person?
Which was very funny.
Gotcha.
Mr. Jeff says it does show him being blinded as a child by toxic chemicals in the show. So I am just forgetting a scene, which is on me. I should remember every single scene in Daredevil.
I don't know how you keep it all straight. You have.
I don't clearly. I get stuff wrong all the time. But the important thing to pull from the scene is that Peter is probably legally fine because the evidence against him is a video that was uploaded by someone after his it's not great evidence that he actually did it.
Yeah.
The problem is that Happy Hogan is under a little bit of a suspicion there because some Stark tech's gone missing. Mm-hmm. Some Stark tech's gone missing.
Yeah.
And it is interesting, right? Because we we kind of are told throughout this movie that Happy has Stark tech in his house.
Yeah.
But we don't actually know if that's the tech that's missing. So there is so much possibility for what that could end up being within the Marvel universe.
Yeah. Because it could just be the one thing, the fabricator that they use in the show, or it could be a lot more than that.
My question is, Tony Stark made so much random shit.
How do they keep track of it all?
Yeah, and like, did Tony Stark register all of his Iron Man stuff with his company? Because I don't think he did.
Probably not. I'm sure he had projects that he was just like tinkering with himself that are not on record. Mm-hmm. You know, he's not the most, like, I don't want to say like organized, but like in that sense of like keeping a list of all the tech that he owns and has and is working on and is half done, that is kind of done, that's an idea, or that's fully fledged. Like, there's a whole lot of possibilities there.
Now, most of the tech that he made is obviously destroyed in Avengers Campus. But, you know, it really does feel like Damage Control is keeping a list, and they're checking it twice.
Yeah.
And they're going to find out if Happy Hogan's the guy. Maybe. We don't know. Doesn't happen in this movie. So, basically, Matt Murdock is like, you can go to school. It's fine. Things are going to be fine. Peter has... They do have to move, though. So they get out of Dodge. They go to Happy's place. Mm-hmm. Peter has a little FaceTime with his girlfriend, MJ. It's very cute.
It is very sweet.
Zendaya's given so much more to do in this movie, and she really embodies the character in ways that the previous films never really allowed her to do.
Yeah, and I love... The one thing that I love about her character and how it's acted is that she pretends to be nihilistic, but actually has a lot of love and warmth and heart and hope underneath the surface, which I think is really interesting, right? Her whole thing of like, if you expect disappointment, then you'll always be disappointed, right? And that kind of thing of like, well, things are probably gonna be shit, but she like, you see those moments of warmth and like that character like shine through, especially with Peter. And you and I talked about it, and they have such a healthy relationship, especially for like teenagers and for superheroes, that it was actually kind of nice and refreshing to see, because there's always problems, and a lot of the times they're like silly problems where you're like, well, if you just talked about it for 5 minutes, things would be fine.
I hear what you're saying. I think though that Zendaya in Homecoming truly is nihilistic.
Yeah.
MJ, like, I think that she's I think she's opening up because of what, and this is why I love it, is because it is because Peter and Ned's friendship, and, you know, obviously her relationship with Peter's a little bit deeper than that, but those three are, the two boys are bringing something out of her, and she is, up until the moment later on in the movie where she's like, no, we are going to get it this time. It is their relationship with her that is allowing her to come out of her nihilistic shell.
For sure. I just mean that like that it is like a thick shell, but I think that I don't think that she was always nihilistic to her core. You know, otherwise, like,
I don't think anyone is, right? It just. It's about the people in your life.
Yes, exactly.
And she has started to have really good people in her life.
She's had a fantastic arc from from movie 1 to like movie 3 that has been really well acted, well written, and 100%. Just enjoyable to watch, because I was like, yeah, I remember when I was a teenage girl, and I was like, yep, things suck. Like, and it's just, I think it really, I think it probably resonated with a lot of teenagers.
Yeah, the next little chunk of the movie, I think we'll just skip through it. There's not a lot to talk about. They basically want to go to college. They want to go to MIT together. There's a really cute scene on the rooftop of the school where they're being all cutesy and teenagery, and then Ned comes in and third wheels so hard. And I'm telling you right now, if you have friends who are in a relationship, be careful. Be very careful. Because you too could end up a third wheel. What you got to do is you got to go to your friend's partner,
and when they're
and
holding
see if they have
hands.
friends who are into you. Or, Ned, you just keep dating Betty Brant. You goofed on that one. Betty Brant is a gorgeous, academically focused, intelligent, driven, ambitious. She's got a job. Like, Ned, you screwed the pooch on that one.
You really did, yeah.
Yeah.
Or you can just do what Ned does, and you can just, whenever your friends hold hands, you can also hold their hand.
The funny thing is that that's something that I do when my friends, but it's intentional. Whereas Ned is so unaware.
Yeah. No,
but so lovely. Like, you can't be mad at him.
Oh, God. He's... I love him. I honestly, a lot of the times, the best friend character is purely meant for humor. But I don't feel like Ned is only there to be like the funny punching bag. He's hilarious, and he's given a lot of really funny moments, but he feels like a human being at the same time. You know?
Yeah.
I think that's important.
So then, but basically, they're applying for colleges. There's a funny scene where the teachers have built a shrine to Peter.
The one teacher who took him on the field trip in the
Martin
last...
Starr.
Yeah, in the last...
Meanwhile, Hannibal Buress is like, that dude's a murderer. And I was like, Hannibal Buress cracks me up.
He's the teacher that he took them on the field trips in both the last two movies, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So he loves Spider-Man, which, to be fair... Spider-Man did save him and save his life multiple times.
So he saved him in the Washington Monument. He saved him from the water monster. He saved him from... those are the two that I can think of. But, like, he obliquely saved Martin Starr's life twice.
Yeah, that, like, elevator...
Rand Elmore, thank you for the super chat. What's up?
Thank you so much, Rand. We're so happy to have you here.
That is so unnecessary, but we're so grateful. Thank you for coming in. Yeah, so they built... That's very funny. Yeah, I love that Hannibal Buress thinks that Peter's a murderer.
Yeah, he's like, hey, Mysterio was right.
They only have those three actors back in this movie for the one scene, but it was worthwhile. It was a good comedic bit.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But basically, this all leads up to they are at the donut shop where Zendaya's working, because they really do hit home multiple times in this movie. Peter's poor. And his friends are poor. Yeah. Like, they're not going to go to college if they don't get scholarships. They're poor. Like, they're not wealthy, right?
That's real.
And this has been such a big part of the Spider-Man comics and of the Peter Parker character. There's a joke from Geek History Lesson. If you've ever listened to the podcast, you know this. If you've never listened to the podcast and you like geeky stuff, go listen to Geek History Lesson. Ashley Victoria Robinson and Jason Inman, they have such incredible content. I love them both so much, truly. Ashley's also a great Twitter follow. But they have a joke where they say Peter's greatest enemy is poverty. Yeah. And they're not wrong, right? That is Peter is the guy who can save New York City, but he cannot pay his rent on time. Yeah. And they finally brought that into the Tom Holland movies, and I really appreciated it.
I was going to say, that is a huge part of the Tobey Maguire movies. Not so much in Andrew's stuff. I don't think that it really comes into play in the same way. And so them touching on it, that being a factor in some way in his story, I think is important, right? Because that's true for a lot of people. Like, the potential for people is there, and sometimes it's just you don't have the money.
Even in the Andrew movies, though, like, Aunt May has to go back to work.
Yes.
And it does come into play.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's not, like, it's most prominent in the Tobey movies because he loses the house.
Well, and because we see Tobey Maguire after high school when he has to pay his own bills. Exactly. We never see that for Andrew because Amazing Spider-Man 2 didn't do well.
Yes, exactly.
But this section of the movie culminates in they're at the donut shop, and one by one they're opening up their MIT letters, and it is due to recent controversies, we can't let you in. And there's a part of me, honestly, that was like, really? Like, you have a Spider-Man wants to come to your college, and you're saying no? Like, I get that maybe he's a murderer, but he's not a convicted murderer, right? Like, if you can be the school that got Spider-Man, you be the school. Can you imagine the stuff you could put out for enrollment the next year? Come to school with frickin' Spider-Man?
It is like a crazy marketing opportunity that feels missed. But here's the thing. I mean, I feel like MIT is doing pretty well. They make money, so.
Oh, sure, but like, if you can work with like, if I was one of the professors there, I'd be like, yeah, let's bring in Spider-Man. I want to meet Spider-Man.
Yeah, you would think so. It does seem kind of silly that, like, him having charges put against him that were then dropped.
Well, he maybe did murder someone on video, and everyone's seen it.
Yes, but here's the thing.
It's a little complicated.
No, but here's the thing. Like, the system of law is there for a reason, and if they cannot... Like, if they have not found him guilty, you are innocent until proven guilty.
Fair. I also do think that, like, it might be MIT being like, feels like we could be a target. To be fair, like... Fair. Bad things happen around Spider-Man.
Yeah, they're like, we really like our school. We like the architecture. We don't want to have to redo it.
Our campus was very expensive.
Yeah, it could be that.
But anyway, so they don't get in. And honestly, like, Zendaya, again, crushes this scene. Because I wouldn't do anything differently, or I would have done it all the same, whatever she says.
Oh, yeah.
Was, like, so heartfelt. And, like, you can see how much that means to... Tom Holland and Zendaya's chemistry in this movie is off the charts. And I don't know if that's because they're dating in real life right now, and if that, like, really, like... But they're on the same wavelength in a different way in this movie than they were in the previous two, and I always thought they were great together. But Tom Holland, like, takes that in a way, and there's very little dialogue in that moment, but you just feel their relationship.
Yeah.
And then Ned leaves. He has to go show that letter to his parents. And I think this is your favorite moment in the movie, right?
Which?
The next beat. They don't get into college.
Yeah.
Flash Thompson shows up and is like, MIT! Because, of course, the rich kid got into MIT.
Oh, yeah, he's fine. He's like, yeah, I gotta go to the mixed karaoke bye, guys.
So, Ned also, like, crushes him with a few words by being like, because we're actually friends with Spider-Man. You see him, like...
He's like...
Yeah.
Well, okay
Yeah,
then.
his penis fully retracted into his body and is, like, hiding behind his kidneys. It's like, no, we're not coming out today.
Yeah. He got schooled.
But then your favorite moment in the movie happens. Do you not remember?
I'm good.
We've seen this movie twice.
I know. I'm like, I don't know my favorite moment in the movie.
Peter Parker is left alone. He's in the donut shop.
Yeah.
And he just got kicked. He just got kicked in the teeth. Oh my god.
I hate, yeah.
It's your favorite moment.
I thought you meant it was actually my favorite moment.
No.
And I was like, what do you mean? No. Peter looks at some cheap, ugly Halloween decorations and is like, you know what that vampire looks like? Doctor Strange.
Well, and what's fun is that this movie takes place in December. So those Halloween decorations have been up for 6 weeks for this bit.
Yeah, like...
I loved it. I was very on board with it.
I hate it.
I had literally zero problems with the beat. I thought it was very cute and very funny and very, like, in the comedic style of the previous two films. It felt like this movie franchise.
So silly.
But yeah, he sees a vampire or whatever, and he's like, you know what? I need to go see Doctor Strange. Because I got rejected, so the first thing I'm going to do is go see Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I'm gonna go have a magician fix all my problems.
Which is the most Peter Parker thing.
Yeah.
It's the most Peter Parker thing.
Oh, yeah.
The number of comics where Peter Parker's like, you know what? Can someone else solve my problems? Please?
Yeah, that checks out. Yeah, so he goes to the Sanctum Sanctorium. Is that what it is?
Sanctum Sanctorum, yeah.
Oh, Sanctorum, that's it.
Yeah.
I always like to add
which I think is supposed to be on, like, 23rd Street. Which is interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know New York, I don't.
Yeah, I was like... It's also fun because at this point, even going into the donut shop scene, he has stopped hiding who he is, swinging around. So he just swings into scenes now in his clothes. And I was like, that's a nice touch. He goes to the Sanctum Sanctorum. It's a mess. Mm-hmm. There's snow everywhere because
there was a Siberian
the door
blizzard.
Blew open, which is a nice callback to Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
That great fight, the hallway fight with the cape. In Doctor Strange is fantastic.
Yeah,
and climb back to those doors is very funny because we've been wondering since the first trailer, like, why is there snow?
Yeah.
What? Because I think that a lot of people just assumed that some other spell had gone wrong or it was a multiversal thing. No, it was just a way for us, the audience, to find out that Doctor Strange is not the Sorcerer Supreme.
Yep. Which he
on a technicality.
He lived for 5 years. I mean, it makes sense. Like.
Oh yeah, it totally makes sense.
But the fact that it is wrong is. Perfection. Except
it brings up some very important questions to me.
What?
Wong, you are the Sorcerer Supreme. Why are you fighting Abomination for money? This is a spoiler chat, so I'm assuming you've seen every Marvel movie up until now.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen Shang-Chi, I'm about to spoil some Shang-Chi stuff, but if Wong is now the Sorcerer Supreme who has higher duties, why are you spending your time...
Cage fighting?
It feels like you have bigger things to do.
Maybe that's his, like, free time. Instead of, like, a PS5, he, like, lets loose by doing some underground cage fights.
Maybe, but I was like, maybe that's how he, like, unwinds from having to deal with Steven. He's like, I can't handle that guy. I'm just gonna go beat up on somebody.
Hey, you know, we all have our things.
But also in that movie, they set up that him and Abomination have like a deal not to hit each other too hard.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
With Wong being the sort. It was a great beat, and I love Wong as the Sorcerer Supreme because Benedict Wong as Benedict Wong is incredible casting.
Yeah.
Like, Wong is
He's
one
perfect.
of my favorite Marvel characters, no joke. I think that the way they've taken him from being just kind of a jokey, quiet monkey character in the first Doctor Strange through all of these Marvel movies to really like flesh out this character who I really am in love with. I think has been fantastic.
Yeah.
And him having the title of Sorcerer Supreme is really awesome. And I think that he'll be a fun, like, almost antagonist to Doctor Strange and Doctor Strange 2 now.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he's the Sorcerer Supreme. And he just, you know, I'm going to go get into a cage fight.
Yeah.
It would be like if we found out that, like, Joe Biden was, like, cage fighting on the weekends. Like, dude, you've got other stuff to do. I would watch that cage fight, though.
No, that would give me so much anxiety. I love what Aiden said about a short series with Strange and Wong being chaotic. And honestly, I would love if next year for Christmas, the Christmas special was like Wong and Doctor Strange like learning to like live with each other and have like a nice like Christmas together. Like could you imagine them trying to like cook a turkey dinner or something? Like I need that in my life.
If you want, I can't believe I'm calling out Geek History Lesson again, but their Christmas special every year is them as Doctor Strange and Clea. They do the voices. If you go back and listen to their Christmas special from last year, it's hilarious. Granted, it's a lot of inside jokes, so if you don't listen to Geek History Lesson, a lot of it won't make sense, because you won't know who Tex Willerman is. But yeah, Doctor Strange Christmas special is literally a thing that Geek History Lesson does.
Interesting. Okay. Damn it. I thought that was a good idea.
No, it is a great idea. I would love, going off of Aiden's thing, I don't know that they would be able to do it live action, but I think an animated, like, Sanctum Sanctorum, like, comedy, treating the Sanctum Sanctorum like The Office, but it's the magicians, the sorcerers. It'd be a great animated thing.
That would be very fun, actually. Yeah, so they get to the Sanctum Sanctorum, and Peter's like, hey, my friends and I didn't get into college. Can you help?
Can you erase the memories of the entire planet?
No. Can you go back in time and fix it? He's like, I don't have the time stone.
Which was, you know, keeping the lore of the Marvel Cinematic Universe going.
No, it was great.
Like, yeah.
It was a great moment to have. And then Doctor Strange is like, but what if everybody forgot?
The runes of Kafkar.
Yeah. And Wong is like, no, that's too dangerous. And he's like, do you remember this party? No, exactly. He's like...
And this is fun. Because this is the first...
What is this party?
This is the first moment from the trailers that was an outright lie, right? Because in the trailers, the line that Wong says when he goes through the portal is, Strange, don't do that spell. And in the movie, they changed it to Strange, just leave me out of it.
Right.
So it is a huge difference because in the trailers they set up as if Wong is going to like be an antagonist to Strange doing this at all.
Yeah.
And in the movies he gives him permission, but he says, I'm not a part of this, and he leaves.
Like, do what you want, I'm out of here.
And I thought it was really interesting that in almost every trailer that Wong line is in it, if you go back. Especially the two big ones. And in the movie, it's not there.
Yeah.
And there's a number of ways in which the trailers lied about this movie, but that was the first big one.
Yeah. I didn't even... See, you have a better memory for things like that than I do, because I don't notice.
So Strange very quickly changes clothes.
Yeah. He's like, I gotta look really good for this spell. I can't be in my Canadian tuxedo.
That's not... what? Do you know what a Canadian tuxedo is?
It's denim, I know, but he looks very Canadian. With
He's
his,
in
like,
sweats.
He's wearing his like puffy jacket and like Sorel boots.
Sure, but he's not in a Canadian tuxedo is a very specific thing.
I know, he just looks very Canadian. Okay, whatever, leave me alone.
So quick changes, And they go down to do the spell. Mm-hmm. And this was another moment where the trailers are misleading. Because in the trailers, you're kind of like, oh, wow, Doctor Strange is really at fault for how the spell goes. But when you see this whole sequence with the spell, it makes a lot more sense how it's Peter's fault that it's changing.
No wonder it got screwed up. Peter's like, wait, everybody's gonna forget. Wait, what about my girlfriend? And Strange's like, oh, fine, everyone but your girlfriend. And he's like, oh, but what about Ned? Oh, but what about Aunt May? Oh, and then Happy. And he's like,
This is also Steven's fault, though. Because Steven could have very easily been like, this is how the spell works. Yeah. Before we start, let's come up with some very specific language.
Yeah.
He doesn't. He just starts doing the spell.
Oh, yeah. They done that up.
Steven, if the spell is this picky, then you write it out. You do some drafts. You guys have the afternoon. Steven is doing this as if he's like, you know what?
Like, I got a hot date. He's like, I have somewhere to be, so...
And, like, Steven has nowhere to be.
No. He doesn't have anything.
And so I was like, okay, well, this is still Doctor Strange's fault. But I can see how... he thinks it's Peter's fault.
My favorite thing is he's like, is Peter's like, Happy. And he's like, no, I'm annoyed.
Yeah, and Doctor Strange has met Happy.
Oh,
yeah, because they're both at Tony Stark's funeral.
That's true.
Like, he knows who Happy is.
That's true. That is true. It was very funny to me.
So then, the spell, you've seen it in the trailers, it goes wrong, and it pulls... Actually, we don't know that yet. What we do know is that Peter is like, wait, I could have called MIT and petitioned them? And I think this is the best joke in the movie.
Yeah.
I think it's the best joke in the movie because it is funny before Doctor Strange says anything.
Yeah.
It is his look up is immediately funny, is the first laugh. And then he pushes the thing to the side, and that gets laugh number 2. And then he starts to talk, and he, like, lays into him.
I'm sorry. You didn't, like...
You didn't try to call them before you asked me to brainwash the entire world?
Yeah.
And I was like, you got 3 laughs out of that joke?
Brilliant.
Chef's kiss.
Brilliant.
Well done.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, it was fantastic. And poor Peter is like...
Well, you put it like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you... Here's what happened.
Here's the thing. I am 100% on Peter's side. I didn't think you could call them and be like, hey, I would like to petition your decision.
I didn't know it was a thing.
I wouldn't have thought to call them.
Yeah.
And granted, I got into the colleges I wanted to get into, so like I guess that wasn't like a thing that like I had to worry about, but
I didn't know it was a thing either. But apparently it is. So like,
if
that's
the
cool.
school's like, hey, we don't want you here because we might get like attacked by aliens, I don't think you can call and be like, yeah, but what if we did that anyway? So Peter calls Flash, agrees to tell the world that Flash is his best friend so that Flash's book can sell, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
And so Flash is like, oh yeah, she's going to the airport, the woman you need to talk to get your friends into college. And Peter's like, okay.
Swings over to the airport, knows the exact route she's taking.
Well, no, that's easy.
Oh, okay.
It's the right bridge. It's just so funny to me that he finds her.
I guess, yeah.
It would be impossible.
Yeah.
It would take you 3 days.
It's the Peter tingle.
You know what? It's the tingle.
It's the tingle.
Let's just blame the tingle.
Yeah, blame the tingle. Oh, man.
Burning Dragonbreaker wants to know how Flash made a book about Peter so quick.
Oh, Flash has been working on this book since Spider-Man first showed his face. He's like, wouldn't it be cool if I was Spider-Man's best friend?
Yeah, he just added some Peter Parker references. Yeah. 100. You know what? 100%.
I mean, yeah, that's my theory. I don't know.
Also,
he's maybe just a really fast writer, or he's rich. He had people write it for him.
There's ghostwriters.
Yeah.
We can't skip over this. Okay, we have to get to this really quick. I love that in a movie where our main character, who wears a red suit, messes up the timeline, the character, the book, that the title of the book, sorry, I'm saying this all wrong, but the book is called Flashpoint, which is the story where the Flash messes up the timeline.
Wow.
And I was like, that is such a funny dig at DC, who is trying to get their Flashpoint movie made.
I did not even cross my mind, but that is very funny.
Oh, when he showed the book and it said Flashpoint on it, I guffawed. I was like, that is such a weird dig at DC, but it is so funny that you got your Flashpoint out there. Like, brilliant joke. Brilliant joke.
Yeah.
So Peter's on the bridge. He locates the lady. He is in a very wrinkled suit because apparently he can wear a full suit under the Iron Spider costume.
Yeah, but it just gets really wrinkly, so you just have to carry a steamer with you at all times.
And of course, the lady is that woman from every movie. She's in I don't know her name. I should have looked up her name before this. She's in everything, and she's always fantastic as like the stern professor or stern principal or stern whatever. Mm-hmm. She's a great actress, but I was like, ma'am, you are in everything, because I think she's in a DC movie too, as like basically the same character.
Yeah, she has like a thing that she always does.
So just very funny. And so he he gives a very bad speech because Peter, you got to think things through.
Didn't think about it at all. Things through. And she's like, she calls him out on it.
Yeah.
And then the Peter tingle happens.
The tingle.
And who shows up?
Doc Ock.
Hell yeah.
I love that his first reaction is to jump on her car. He's like trying to press this woman, and he immediately jumps on her car. You can't see, it's not like a close-up of her face, but you can see she's in the car like, what are you?
What's happening?
So Doc Ock bursts through the street, and if your theater was anything like ours, cheers erupted.
Hell yeah. People were so excited for that.
I was over the moon. And the crazy thing is, this was in the trailers. I knew it was happening, but because it was the movie, it felt different. It hit different, and I was just like ready.
Yeah.
Peter conveniently turns his suit on just before Doc Ock comes up out of the street, and we get our first real fight of the movie.
Yeah.
Our first fight at all.
Yeah.
Peter versus Doc Ock, and we have just seen Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
How did you feel about CGI arms versus the practical arms from Spider-Man 2?
I thought it looked great. I didn't notice a huge difference except in like the detail in how it moved. Mm-hmm. But I thought that they kept pretty true to what it looked like in the other movie.
Yeah, the one question I have is that Doc Ock doesn't have superpowers.
Yeah.
So anytime Peter hits his body, I'm like, he just punched a normal dude.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Your kidney is now splintered.
This fight sequence is really incredible.
Yeah.
Like, just, like, destroying the bridge. The way Peter gets hit with those big, like, concrete cylinders. Mm-hmm. And he, like, he's so clearly hurt, but he keeps getting back up. He saves that family. And then he saves a chat. Thank you, Richardson7 pulled up, is Paula Newsome, who's just in everything, including apparently Home Alone. And it's I love the CGI tentacles because it allowed for some really delectable wide shots that I just was like, oh man, like there's one wide shot that is a little bit longer than the others, and I just want to like slow that down and pick that fight moment apart bit by bit, because you can see everything that all 4 of his arms and all 4 of Peter's extra arms from the Iron Suit are doing.
The fact that they both had the extra limbs was very fun.
And it just felt like they really accounted for all 8 limbs moving at the same time, and it looked so cool.
It was smooth, it was fluid, it looked fantastic. The thing is, in chat they're saying he beat Doc Ock a lot faster than Toby did, and he did not. He got lucky because he had his ass kicked. He was hanging upside down, and the only reason Peter survived was from the nanotechnology that Doc Ock ripped out of his suit and then integrated into himself without realizing the connection that would create with Peter's technology.
Oh yeah, Peter absolutely loses that fight.
He lost that fight and got lucky.
He only loses that fight because he is prioritizing saving Paula Newsome's character.
Well, and people, there's several cars and several people that he does save. And that's how villains like use that to their advantage, right? Because they're usually on par with the person that they're fighting with, but the other person has the responsibility to save everybody else, not just beat up the villain, right?
Before we get back to that, let's just Burning Dragonbreaker in the chat asked, did Peter and Doctor Strange's spell actually work? Like, people forgot who he was, but he exposed himself when he literally jumped on the professor's car. So,
no, the spell
within this story, the spell never happened.
It was contained in the box.
It's contained in the 20-sided dice first. And then Doctor Strange puts it in the box later.
Yeah,
so Doctor Strange contains the spell before it takes effect.
Yes.
And that's why it's in the 20-sided dice for a significant chunk of the movie.
Yes.
And so when he's on the bridge, the spell hasn't happened.
Yeah.
Dr. Octopus coming through is a side effect
of it
not
being
working.
contained. Yeah. Because, it went very wrong.
So that leads to Doc Ock. He cracks Peter against a pillar, and that spike comes out. He's going full on murder, and in something that I really loved about this beat is that slow-mo shot of the spike heading towards him. You see his helmet. So I thought, when we saw the trailers, I thought Peter was revealing his face to this Dr. Octopus. Right. That's not what happens.
No.
His helmet shifts down to become the chest plate that's missing.
To protect himself from the spike, which I thought was such a much better touch.
It was,
there was a purpose for Doc Ock eventually seeing his face. And he's like, wait a second, you're not Peter.
It's his suit saving his life.
Yeah.
Because Doc pulls the spike back and it's bent. And there's a scuff mark on the iron. That stuff was all handled so well.
Yeah.
Really, really cool.
Yeah.
And so Doc Ock's like, you're not Peter Parker. And Tom Holland's like, wait, what? And then, so when we saw, they released a picture of Doc Ock's tentacles, and they were red.
Yeah.
And they looked like Iron Man's colors. And people were like, oh, God, another Iron Man villain reference somehow. Because there are some people who really think that Vulture is so tied to Tony Stark, and Mysterio is so tied to Tony Stark in the previous two movies, they just want Spider-Man villains. But that's not what it is.
Right.
It is the nanites of his suit connect to the arms, and Peter gets control of Doc Ock's tentacles.
Yeah.
And this moment, y'all, oh my God.
Brilliant.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Inspired.
Yeah.
So much fun.
Yeah. Really well done. And not contrived either, I think that's important. There are a lot of times when people will shoehorn things into the plot just for either comedy's sake or to move things along. This all felt completely plausible, and by plausible I mean it's
within the world.
Within the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I loved the moment of it, and the moment of Peter realizing and playing around with it. And kind of taunting him, and Doc Ock being, for the first time in a while, helpless. Yeah. And how he reacts to that, which I thought was brilliant. So he saves the MIT representative, who's like, I'm gonna talk to MIT. I'm gonna about you and your friends. I'm gonna talk to them. And then she's like, hey, you can't do that. Whatever she says.
I really thought she was about to go deck.
Oh, I thought, I thought she was going to punch him.
I kind of wish they'd let her.
Yeah,
that would have been great.
Very funny. She, gives it to him before she leaves.
And then we get part 2 of the fight.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, God, Tom Holland's he's about to be into it. Green Goblin's here. We see Green Goblin. Our theater got a cheer for the first time and the second time, because we've seen it twice now. The first time and the second time got a cheer for both the pumpkin grenade and for the actual reveal of Norman, even though both of those moments are in the trailers. These are things that people have seen already, and they were both full-on cheer moments in our theaters.
People were so excited, and it was really heartwarming.
And then it was very shocking that we don't see a fight because Doctor Strange portals them back.
Teleports them away. And has already collected Lizard.
That was very...
Yeah, he's like, there was a disturbance in the Force, and I found Lizard. That's basically... I detected a magical anomaly.
And Lizard got a couple of punches in, because he's got some scratches. Doctor Strange, Lizard got him good.
Yeah. So we got Lizard in a cell, we got Doc Ock in a cell, and a bunch of empty cells. And Doctor Strange is like, I need you to capture... These are all people... He explains what's happening. These are all people who know Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and they're slipping through. They slipped through before I could contain the spell completely. So you need to go find them.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, wait. I need my friends. friends. And so he brings Ned and MJ into the fold.
Question. Mm-hmm. Say you had to find a variety of supervillains, right? Uh-huh. And you decided that you needed help. And you happen to know all of the Avengers. Who do you call in for help?
Ghostbusters!
This was a moment where he was like, I'm going to need help. And I was like, I knew because I've seen the trailers that it was Ned and MJ. But there was a part of my brain that was like, I feel like you could call like Captain America, like Sam Wilson and Bucky.
Yeah.
Like call in Cap and Winter Soldier. Yeah. You could call in, maybe not Scarlet Witch because I don't know how the world feels about her right now.
Hawkeye.
Like Hawkeye's literally in New York. Which is weird because I think the Hawkeye show is taking place during this movie.
Yeah, because it's Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
I wonder if the finale will have a reference to the Spider-Man business of it.
That'll be fun.
And like in the finale, we'll watch Clint forget about Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Which would be heartbreaking. Literally heartbreaking if this Wednesday we have to watch all this happen again.
Oh no.
But I was just kind of like, Peter, you know the Avengers.
Dinosaur, right.
You have friends with superpowers.
Yeah.
You know Bruce Banner. Mm-hmm. Like,
yeah.
Don't call your girlfriend right now. She's in danger.
He's a high schooler in love. Like, what do you want from him? Of course he's going to call his girlfriend.
To help with supervillains? No, you know the Avengers.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, well, he didn't want to like bother them, but also at the same time, this seems like the stakes are high enough that
this is when you call the Avengers.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of supervillains in New York City. You know what? MJ and Ned. That's who I got.
Yeah.
Thankfully it works out because MJ and Ned show up and they're able to figure it all out real quick. They
just get on the internet. They Scooby-Doo that shit.
The rest of the villains are all thankfully in the same place.
Yeah, that was lucky. Well, two of them.
Two of the three that are out there. They're just chilling out in New Jersey or somewhere. I don't know.
It doesn't really say. They're in a forest.
Well, because they say they're at a military complex, so I figured they were at the complex Sandman was made in.
Oh.
But that doesn't really make sense because I don't know why Sandman would go back there.
Yeah.
But Avtolik says Sam and Bucky kind of hate him. True. That is the best part of the Avengers press stuff, is how mean Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan are to Tom Holland. It's great. If you haven't seen it, there's so many good compilations on YouTube. Go watch those two adults just mercilessly tease this 20-year-old. But so Peter apparently is like really embarrassed that his suit is green. I don't know.
Yeah, and so he turns it inside out, which honestly I thought looked really cool.
It looks dope, but like it's just some green on your suit. You're going to fight supervillains in the dark. It's like the middle of the night.
Yeah.
It's a very... It seems
maybe
like
it's glow-in-the-dark
vanity.
paint. It's like neon
glow
green.
In the dark.
So maybe it's glow-in-the-dark paint. And he's like, well, if I'm trying to be sneaky...
Sneaky is not something that you could say this Peter Parker is doing in this movie.
That is fair. He shows up, and the first person we see is... Well, actually, we get a little glimpse of Sandman. Mm-hmm. He's like sneaky through the shadows. And then, Electro shows up and he starts absorbing the power from these huge power lines.
And the power feels different.
It does feel different.
Which is a really, like, a cool nod to the fact that the power in the MCU, because of Tony Stark, is all clean energy. Which I like that they're keeping that going.
Oh, that's what that is.
Yeah.
I just figured because it was a different universe, it was slightly different. But that makes sense.
Well, no, Tony Stark powers New York City with clean energy. With his arc reactor in the ocean. We see that at the beginning of Iron Man 3, maybe? I can't remember. There's one where this movie starts with him setting up the New York power grid thing in the ocean.
Gotcha.
And so
okay.
I liked that nod quite a bit to that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And like nodding, I know it's to Tony Stark, but nodding to like the deeper lore of the MCU being important to things like that is really awesome to me. And it foreshadows that Electro is really into the arc reactor in the case in a couple scenes from now. Yep. Shin is saying that it's in the first Avengers movie that happens. So that's awesome. And then we see Peter try and use the magic thing that Doctor Strange gave him, and it just goes straight through Electro. So he's like, what am I going to do? And then, Big twist.
Yeah.
Big fun twist, because in all the trailers, the final fight looks like Sandman is on the villain's team. And this twist of Sandman shows up, protects Peter, and like pops his like sand body out because Thomas Hayden Church was not available to do the movie. So we get sand body the whole time. He pops his body out and he's like, Peter, it's me, Flint Marko, do you remember? And I was like, oh, this is good Flint.
Yeah, this is when he has been plucked from his like turn to the good side.
Yeah.
And is helping out.
What a twist.
Yeah.
What a fun thing to be like.
I was not expecting that.
No, Sandman's a good guy in this.
Yeah.
And I dug it. I really, really dug it. And it made his appearance in the final fight so much more interesting because he had a different goal than everyone else there.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it was very cleverly done, to be honest. I loved it. I enjoyed it. And it does end up with both of them being like Peter zaps Electro into the cell, and then Sandman is like, "What did you just kill him? Like, what just happened?"
Yeah.
He's like, "No, I can explain everything." And he zaps Sandman into the cell, which was like a little awkward because I was like, "This guy just helped you, like."
Yeah.
You know,
well, no, but he starts to get aggressive because Flint doesn't trust people. That was true to character. Again, this movie, it's true to the characters.
100%
in everything.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, getting our first fight team up of this movie. I did not expect the first team up of this movie was going to be Sandman and Spidey working together, but I loved it.
Yeah, that was
genuinely
very fun.
Love it. That action sequence looks great.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And then we find out where Norman Osborn is.
Yeah.
And he is he's with Aunt May.
Yeah, because they really play up the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde of the Green Goblin in this.
It's really brilliant.
Well, and it's nice because it makes him different from Doc Ock.
Yeah.
And different from Professor Neil on TikTok brought this up the other day. Where he was talking about how all of the Spider-Man villains are like not in control of their actions. And that's maybe not the most interesting thing, but it is the choice that almost every Spider-Man movie makes, is the thing that makes them powerful is the reason they're crazy, or whatever word you want to use there, is the reason they go bad. And it's not really their desire to do that. And so this movie really sets up that like Green Goblin is split into the best of himself and the worst of himself, and the worst of himself is a villain. Doc Ock is not in control of himself. Electro is fully in control of himself. He just does like to be a villain. And they kind of give all of the villains a different motivation in a really nice way. Yeah,
100%. And I agree with Nathan Bowden show that that Goblin is more terrifying in this movie by far than I think in Spider-Man 1.
I don't know. In Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 1 is one of the great villain performances of all time to me, and he continues it here. I think he's very consistently incredible between those two films.
I just think that in this one, they played a little bit more with him not being in control. Like,
okay, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I think that they just did a little bit more with it.
And it was nice, in Spider-Man 1, we don't get to see the, like, softer side of him as much. And that scene where he's talking with May in the kitchen, where Spider-Man swings into the shelter and is running, Peter's just running through in the Spider-Man costume, like, where's May?
And they're like, over there.
Peter went from, like, hiding his identity to being very comfortable with people knowing that he's Spider-Man very quick.
Does not care.
But yeah, Goblin is, like, a little sad boy.
Yeah, he's like, this happens to me and it's scary and I don't know what to do. He's like, my company doesn't exist. Someone else is living in my house. Like, and it's heartbreaking.
Oscorp
honestly.
Doesn't exist.
Yeah,
this is the first time we've heard this in the MCU.
Yeah,
huge.
Yeah,
huge. That means we will never see Norman Osborn. Well, I mean, there's still room, obviously, but...
Or Harry.
The traditional Norman Osborn that we have in the comics will not be in the MCU, and this is the first time they've ever confirmed that.
Yeah.
And because the speculation forever has been that Norman Osborn is the person who bought Stark Tower at the end of Spider-Man Homecoming. Because they still haven't revealed who owns Stark Tower. It's like that like hanging thread that they've been like waiting on throughout these movies. But now we're definitely not getting that Norman Osborn, at least in the MCU Spider-Man stuff, which is really, really interesting.
Yeah.
But we do get the beginning of the storyline that I think is going to be the most controversial when talking about this Spider-Man movie moving forward, which is Aunt May tells Peter that it is his responsibility to help the villains.
Yeah.
And she tries to convince him that he needs to go out of his way to help them.
Yeah.
And because of that, a lot of property is destroyed and she dies. And a lot of people are in danger. And Peter Parker's life is absolutely ruined at the end of this movie.
Yeah.
And I think that I hate to say this, I think she's wrong.
You do.
I understand why Peter agrees with her. Mm-hmm. But I think she's wrong. Because I think that in an understanding of the multiverse as being infinite, you cannot stop people from dying.
Yeah.
In other multiversal universes. It doesn't make sense to try. If you assume that every single universe has an infinite ability to have every possible variation of the universe, you're saving their life within the confines of one of an infinite universes. You're not really making a difference. And also, this raises huge questions.
Why do you do anything?
Because we're alive.
Here's the thing. I think that if you are... I don't think there's any possible way that you can go about saving everyone out there, right? But if you are presented with people who need help, like they are like handed to you on a silver platter, literally, and they are there at your mercy, and you are presented with people who are not in control of their faculties, then
at the risk of destroying the world,
you
think 5 people are worth destroying everything for?
So I don't think that Aunt May knows what is at stake when she gives Peter this advice.
But Peter does.
Peter does, but he's a kid. He's an influential, like he's influential, but he is able to be influenced, whatever that word is. He's a teenager, impressionable teenager, right? And I agree with you. I don't think that these 5 people are worth the lives and stability of millions, potentially billions, but I don't think that Aunt May understands that when she gives him this advice.
But she continues to give him this advice even when things are going poorly.
Yeah, but...
And I disagree with her. I think that, especially... And here's where things get weird. And I agree with Shin. It is classic Peter Parker, and that's why it works for me in the movie. I think the movie is right to have Peter Parker do this. I'm saying that I think it's the wrong choice. But I also think it's the choice that Peter Parker would make, which is, again, why this movie is true to the characters and why I love it so much.
Yeah,
it is important to distinguish those things. I just think that you are messing with things that are beyond your purview because in Doc Ock's world, Norman Osborn is dead. But in Norman Osborn's world, he's not. So when you send those 2 characters back to where they came from, you are going to change the space-time continuum of Doc Ock's world. And that Dr. Octopus is going... That Dr. Octopus ceases to exist the moment that you send that Norman Osborn back without his powers.
Wouldn't it just create a parallel universe? Like one tiny change, but that keeps... Because I don't understand if parallel universes are concurrent within the multiverse. I don't actually know if that's how that works.
They are.
Okay,
The multiverse is that that is all of the parallel universes next to each other, essentially.
Yeah, so I just feel like that would just create a new timeline and give that person a second chance.
But you would send Dr. Octopus back to a universe where that Norman Osborn does die. So Norman Osborn still dies in Dr. Octopus's universe, but because
the multiverse is infinite, so there will be a version, like there will be a version of every single outcome.
Oh, 100%. Right? I'm saying that that is not worth destroying the planet over.
No,
creating more timelines. It gets into some really confusing variant stuff.
Yeah.
Where that Osborn can no longer be from the same universe as that Goblin.
Yeah. And I don't think...
that's crazy.
And I'm not calling Aunt May stupid by any means.
No,
but I don't think that Aunt May fully grasps... I mean, I don't understand the goddamn multiverse, right? And so I don't think that Aunt May... I think she is just trying to be a good mother and a good influence on Peter.
She's trying to be a good influencer.
No. She's trying to be a good influence on Peter. And we know that she's not a crazy scientist. She's not Iron Man. She doesn't, like that's not her thing. Her like superpower is acceptance and care and love. Like she,
100%.
That's how she spends all of her time trying to make life better for other people. Yeah. And so I understand that is the message that she imparts on Peter. But I do agree with you that like with what is at stake here, I don't know if it was the right advice.
So basically, he takes they get into they go back to the room, the crypt, and they basically tell all the supervillains, "Yo, you can either come. I'm gonna try and fix you, or you can."
No. First of all, him and Doctor Strange have an epic fight.
Right. Doctor Strange shows up with the button.
Yeah.
He MacGuffin of the movie.
Thing. He's like, all right, we press this thing, we send everybody back, and it's all in a good day's work.
And it seems like it's the kind of button that like they could have accidentally pressed at any moment.
Yeah, they
got lucky that no one ever. Although they do also make it seem like Doctor Strange has to use more magic for it to go off in the final fight. He's like doing some stuff. So I'm a little confused about that, because either he needs to do more magic or he can just press the button. Or like Michelle can just press the button, but anyway.
No, thank you so much for that. We really appreciate it. I know you can't hear us.
If you're watching this but you're not listening because you don't want to be spoiled, you the MVP.
Thank you.
Even though you can't hear me say that. This fight. How did you feel about the fight between the second or third fight of the movie?
Very fun. We do need to talk about the moment where Peter gets separated from his body and is able, and somehow his physical form still is moving when he does not exist in that body.
There are spiders who will continue to move after they die. Their nervous system will continue to react after they die. And I think that's what his tingle continues to work in his body when he's not in control. I think that's what they're referencing.
I hate it.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that it is the Peter tingle continuing to dodge even after his consciousness is no longer there.
Okay, yeah. All right. And so he swims back to his body.
Which was, I love that he swims.
Doggy paddle.
That was the cutest part of the whole thing. My favorite moment though is when Strange opens a portal in front of and behind Peter so that he catches himself with the web.
Very good. That fight was very creative, and I loved that with the use of like the portals. Super well done.
The use of the mirror dimension.
Yeah, and very fun.
The mirror dimension is New York and the Grand Canyon for some reason. I was like, why the Grand Canyon? And I get that they wanted the joke later where he's like in the Grand Canyon for who knows how long. But I was like, that doesn't seem like New York and the Grand Canyon. I guess like New York is like one of the taller places in the States, and the Grand Canyon, I don't know.
Is the lower place? Sure.
Although actually the Grand Canyon is still pretty high because it doesn't start at sea level. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's a great fight.
It is.
Yeah, and it allows us to have Doctor Strange and Spider-Man fight and it not be one of them as a villain.
Yeah.
They're both right.
Yeah.
And I really loved that.
Yeah, me too.
Like, the emotional storytelling of that is that they're both correct.
Yeah.
But they have to fight because they're both correct, but in different ways, and they're coming at it from different perspectives.
Yeah.
And it is a fight about perspective, not about right and wrong.
Yeah.
And that's really fun. I also love that Peter uses math to beat magic.
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
That was super fun. So yeah, so Peter's basically like, hey, you guys, I can send you back now and you can go to die, or let me help you. And so most of them, and begrudgingly, are like, all right, fine, let's go. So
because most of them have their wits about them. And at this point, Norman is good Norman.
Yes, he's not Goblin.
And I love the interactions between good Norman and Peter.
Yeah.
Like, really, I thought...
Oh, they're so good. And when they're building the thing for Doc Ock, he's like, if you ever want to commute to another universe, like, I have a job for you. Like, you are brilliant.
Well, and it goes back to, in Spider-Man, when we meet Willem Dafoe, he is not a great father to Harry.
Yeah.
But the interest he takes in Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker in that movie is really interesting, right? Like, he really does have this respect and admiration for Peter. And I love that they continue that plot line here, where this guy, he is not the best guy, right? He's a greedy businessman. But what he but what his fine qualities are is that he really respects a brilliant mind.
Yeah.
And his scenes with Peter, to me, both pre and post the flip back to being Bad Goblin, I thought really sold that storyline and sold the relationship that, in my opinion, makes the Green Goblin the best Spider-Man villain, right? Mm-hmm. Is that he is, and I think other people would say it's Doc Ock, and I understand it's a similar relationship that does that. But I really think that there is something special about that scene at the computer together, or at the fabricator together, and I really, really loved it. Yeah,
me too. I did love, I loved a lot of the stuff they all go back to Happy's apartment and use the fabricator he tries to help everybody. And there's... And he does. He creates a chip, an inhibitor chip, for Doc Ock.
We're gonna talk as we get through the spoiler chat. We're an hour and 15 minutes in, and we're not even halfway through the movie.
I know.
This is gonna be a 3-hour spoiler chat. Gotta love it. We're gonna talk about the 7 times that I cried in this movie, and this is time number 1 because Peter Parker. I might cry talking about it. Peter Parker finally cures Doc Ock.
Yeah.
And for those, up until now, Spider-Man 2 has been my favorite Spider-Man movie. Into the Spider-Verse is so close. But Spider-Man 2, I love it. I cried 3 times when we watched it a week and a half ago. And I love that Peter Parker finally got to cure Otto. Like, genuinely cure Otto. And I was not expecting it to be as emotional a moment for me personally as it was.
Yeah.
But I cried. It meant the world to me because for those of you who have played the video game or seen, or read the comics, or Dr. Otto Octavius is in a lot of ways Peter's greatest mentor and, maybe his greatest villain. He's almost, him and Green Goblin for me, depends on the week. But the problem is always that Peter can't get through to him. And this time he did. And after reading these kind of battles back and forth, the 2 times Otto has been a good person is at the end of Superior Spider-Man, when Peter's consciousness breaks through. That's a whole storyline where Dr. Octopus takes over Peter's body and becomes the Superior Spider-Man because he's... Anyway, it's fantastic. But the 2 times Otto's a good guy is both because Peter breaks through, and this time oh God.
Yeah.
It just got me. Yeah. And I was blubbering.
And it was beautifully done. Like, Alfred Molina is phenomenal, S tier in this movie, for sure. And that awakening that he has is so well played and so heartfelt and emotional.
I'd forgotten how quiet it can be.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God, like what must it have been like?
Philosopher King saying, also great to see Peter doing science stuff. Felt like MCU Peter lacked that before. I actually disagree with that. In Homecoming, we seem to do quite a bit of science with Ned, right? Because he develops his web fluid, and he also hacks, or he does the science with the stone that becomes the bomb that takes out the Washington Monument. But Peter, they're doing the science to get it out of the... They're in science class with it, trying to get it out of the weapon to try and figure out what kind of energy source it is.
Okay.
I would agree Far From Home strayed away from the science stuff, but Homecoming had a lot of the science stuff, especially around the web fluid and...
Gotcha. Yeah, because I was I don't remember in Far From Home, I don't remember much of that, but yeah, that makes sense.
But I do agree. Seeing Peter be a brilliant scientist in this movie was very fun because he is supposed to go to New York's top science school, and he is applying to MIT, like the science school, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to be real smart.
Yeah.
And they showed that here in a way that was totally believable. I was never could he actually do that? It's Spider-Man, of course he can.
Yeah. It's Spider-Man.
So he comes up with a couple of other cures real quick there. Comes up with a cure for Electro, but it's going a little slow. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's a bit like our YouTube upload speed now that we're at our new apartment. And he's working on that goblin cure and finishes the goblin cure. But just as he's going to go fix him, that dang goblin.
Yeah.
Goblin D's
goblin
nuts.
Comes out.
He comes out and... You like that one?
No.
He comes out of the closet, and he's a bad guy again, and all hell breaks loose. And the one thing I found confusing about this beat is Aunt May throws everything in a bag and then runs away with it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Aunt May, we could have used that goblin cure, like, earlier. It just seemed like they could have, like, tried to get him in the neck in the room, but Aunt May takes the cure and, like, gets to the stairs. And I was like, you could have left that one behind. I understand why she took the others, right? Because she takes the Sandman cure, she takes the lizard cure with her.
Yeah, I guess so.
I felt like she could have left the goblin. She could have tossed that to Peter really quick. It didn't work, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to remember, like, the sequence of things happening. Doesn't Peter tell her to run?
Oh, sure, but she runs with the goblin cure.
Yeah.
And then Peter...
Here's the thing. Peter needs to be able to subdue him before they can get him that cure. So.
Sure, but if he had subdued him and the cure's outside, I don't know what good it's going to do.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
But
kind of a strange moment, but it got them out of the apartment. It got them moving through the condo building. Luckily, we didn't see another soul in the building. No one else lives there.
Yeah, there's no one else in the condo.
Yeah, that's really lucky.
It's an empty condo.
Yeah. Can I have one of those?
Because they're doing like Man of Steel levels of damage to that condo building. But they crush through the apartment below them. There's nobody in it. It looks like a show home. Like, nobody lives in that apartment, you know?
Yeah.
They destroy so much of that condo, and there is no one.
Oh, yeah, those hallways are ruined. And yeah, I guess nobody's home. Lucky for them. Maybe it's like all the rich people. That's like their like winter or summer condo, and they're not there for the winter.
And
they all rent their summer homes because it's Christmas.
It's all especially bad because our boy J. Jonah Jameson, he's back, baby. He's back. Oh my god, it was so good. All the J. Jonah Jameson, we haven't talked about him. He's been in a lot of the movie up until now, but all the J. Jonah Jameson stuff is so fun, and I just so good to have him back. But he has been stalking Peter. And he's outside with a camera, like, ready. He's rolling, you know. He's getting that B-roll. And so when all hell breaks loose, it's captured on film. And Peter's a bad guy again.
Yep, yeah.
All of the things about the Mysterio situation have been proven true. And it's like, it's not good.
It's not a good look.
It's not good.
The one thing that I don't understand is why Lizard stayed in the truck. You were like, oh, he's embarrassed. But I don't think...
Well, because I think that, like... It would be a lot harder to sneak him through the condo.
Then Octopus?
Yeah, because at least he still looks like a human.
Sand?
He's shaped like a human.
He's shaped like sand.
But that was only because they couldn't get Thomas Hayden Church.
I do not know why Lizard stayed in the van, and it is never mentioned or talked about.
Because he wanted to. They say he wanted to.
Yeah,
and I was
he asked to stay in the van, and I'm like, that seems really suspicious, but okay. It's
convenient for the fight later.
Yeah,
It also, from the screenwriting perspective, it keeps one more person out of the apartment. Because there's already a tight space.
Yeah.
It's a one-bedroom loft, you know?
Yeah.
But where would there was no couch space, you know?
He would have had to stand.
But everybody splits up at this point, essentially, because they escape, right? Electro decides to go full baddie. He's escaped. Lizard gets a shot in on Peter. He escapes. Sandman dips out because he doesn't trust anyone. And he doesn't fight Peter. He just doesn't want to be a part of this.
Yeah.
So he dips out. And Doc Ock runs. Why? Not really sure.
Not 100% sure.
He just got goodified again. And I was like, I'm surprised you didn't help more. But okay, he's out. So he'll come back later. So it basically becomes a tete-a-tete, a 1v1 of Gobby and Peter. And despite the tingle, oh boy, does Goblin get some licks in here.
Yeah,
Kyle drives Peter through multiple floors of this condo.
Yeah,
there is structural damage.
Peter gets his ass handed to him.
Yeah.
And it's rough to watch. Like
pretty brutal.
He gets ruined.
Yeah. And it culminates in the lobby.
Yeah.
Where May decides she's gonna use a electric converter as a mace, which is super cool. She rips it out of the ceiling.
Don't even know. Oh god.
And Peter's like telling her to run.
Yeah.
Telling her to run, and she's not moving, and oh boy.
And that glider smashes right into her, and it
yeah.
And you know in that moment, like before, like you know what's happening. Like,
I wasn't 100% sure because she's still moving around, so I
no,
thought it's the MCU.
That blow, I was like, that looked brutal.
See, I didn't know at that point.
Okay, I knew.
And, like, this is the moment that I'm so glad was never spoiled for me.
Yeah.
Like, I knew Toby and Andrew were going to be in the movie. I feel like everyone knew they were going to be in the movie. Mm-hmm. But I did not know May was going to die.
Nope.
And, like, Han Solo dying in France Awakens. In The Force Awakens. God, I'm so dyslexic. Han Solo dying in Force Awakens was spoiled for me, and I hated that. So the fact that no one spoiled May dying for me is... I'm very grateful, because that moment crushed me.
Oof, yeah.
And I didn't know that she was going to die until she said, with great power, there must also come great responsibility. As soon as she said that, my stomach, like, went through the floor. Yeah. I was like, she's dead.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And then she dies.
Yep.
And she's, like, dead.
Yep.
Happy shows up, and he, like, sees it happen.
Yeah.
And then the freaking guy shoots Peter.
Oh, my God, I know.
It's so brutal. And I just started to sob. And this was cry number 2.
Yeah.
And this one lasted for a while. Like, there might have been other, like, crying moments had I not just kept crying from this through the following scenes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
France Awakens, The Rise of Napoleon.
Oh, that was amazing. Yes. Also, you're right. They do try the cure for Goblin, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely.
It does fail. And yeah, Aunt May dies, and it is hard to watch. And like, they really take time when she is dead, and Peter is there, like, holding her. Like, look at me, please. I need you to wait. Like, they take their time there because it is powerful and it hurts.
And I feel like every Aunt May has, like, their iconic scene now. Because Marissa Tomei's Aunt May hasn't been given a lot to do in the first 2 films. Just because there wasn't really room for her to kind of have anything to contribute in these. But, you know, Rosemary Harris has that incredible scene in Spider-Man 2 that makes me cry every time. I think that Sally Field has good scenes in both Spider-Man movies.
Oh, yeah.
I think she's one of the... She has a much bigger role, I think, in the Amazing Spider-Man films. And then Marissa Tomei finally gets her scene here, and she just... She absolutely destroys it. And, like, this is going to be, like, one of the iconic Aunt May scenes, up there with the one from the video game that I don't want to talk about because she hasn't played it yet.
Yeah.
It hurts, man. And it hurts a lot because Marissa Tomei's performance is so strong.
Yeah. 100%. It's yeah. So well done. I'm so glad it was not spoiled for us. And then, yeah, Happy tells Peter to run, and he runs. Yeah. He runs.
And he runs all the way to a billboard that is playing live coverage of J. Jonah Jameson's news speech.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know this about billboards in New York, but they don't have sound. They're just LCD. Like, there's no speaker systems on them.
Yeah.
So Peter is just staring at a silent J. Jonah Jameson.
Peter Tingle.
And it's the first shot is of his face and, like, the rain, and he's just so moody. And it also isn't raining for the rest of the night. It's only raining for this one scene.
That's true. Yeah, no, you're right.
Because the entire rest of the movie happens the same night, right?
Yeah.
But there's no rain for the rest of the evening.
Yeah, it's just for that one moment.
It's just that one moment. And he is staring up at a giant billboard of J. Jonah Jameson saying
just mouthing
an incredible monologue about tragedy and, like, honestly, great moment. But the reality of the situation would be that there would be no sound.
Yeah.
And so he's just staring up at J. Jonah Jameson, sobbing while silence around him. And the second... I didn't notice it the first time because I was, like, sobbing. I was so into it. But the second time we were watching the movie, I was like, why is he watching this? He can't hear it.
See, I wouldn't have known that.
Why would there be speakers on a giant billboard?
You know what? You're right.
Like,
you're right. You're
like,
absolutely right. I don't know.
He's just watching it. The second time we were watching it, I stopped crying because I started to, like, giggle. But it was my second viewing, but most of our theater, it was their first viewing.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to ruin it, so I was trying to be so quiet. So I think it looked like I was crying because I was, like, bouncing, but I was actually laughing so hard at the idea that Peter is just emotionally watching a silent J. Jonah Jameson.
Oh god, I didn't even think about that, but that's amazing.
It didn't. I had no idea the first time, but second time, oh man.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's a few things the second time around that made me chuckle just because.
Yeah.
I could pay attention to them.
Yeah. So then
the movie knows that the emotion of that is very strong. Mm-hmm. We need to cut that with some comedy, so we go to Ned's grandma's house.
Yeah.
And that woman deserves an award for best cameo in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Lilu? Something like that. Lulu,
yeah.
Also, really love that they didn't give subtitles. For, I think it's Filipino.
I think they're Filipino,
Yeah. Filipino's a language, right? I hope I'm right about that. I really loved I really loved her in this scene. I think it's so funny that she doesn't leave. Usually in these situations, that character would like leave earlier. And she sticks around.
She stays there. She's like, nope,
She's
here for this.
She's just watching it.
Earth 616, all billboards with sound systems.
All billboards with sound systems. Yeah. SG says 50 billboards all blasting sound and drowning each other out would be super weird. It would be so weird. And it's also like on a roof.
Yeah.
Like
no
who
one
would
can
hear
that except the apartment that you're beside, or on top of. But
it's also New York. Like there's a billboard everywhere. Yeah. Like if they were all playing sound, it would be insane.
It'd be awful. But yeah, so we find out that that Ned has magic. Ned can use magic because he's got Doctor Strange's ring, and he accidentally there's a little magic sparkle for the portal, and he's like, wait a second, and so he figures out how to open up portals just like by waving his hand around a little bit. I was like, wow, that was so easy.
Flapster King says Tagalog is the language. And you know what? I hate myself because I knew that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and now I'm mad at myself. Because I knew that.
That's okay.
And, I forgot. And now, as soon as I read that, I was like, God damn it. This is live.
This is live, baby!
You know what, Flapster King... Reading is not something I'm great at. I love it, but it's hard for me. You're right, and you win. You win nothing, but you win.
You're a winner.
And I lose. So yeah, he just goes, I want to see Peter.
Yay. Yeah, well, show us Peter Parker.
Do that again. I want to see Peter. And then it's an alley.
Yeah.
There's a Spider-Man.
Uh-huh.
There is a Speederman.
There is.
And
and
he's like, what's going on? And they're like, Peter!
Yeah.
Peter!
And people knew. The people in the theater were like, oh, like everyone was like, whoa.
Oh yeah, because it's the eye shape.
Yeah.
It's very clearly not Toby's suit, right? It's very clearly Andrew Garfield. And he comes through and is Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
And I so wish I didn't know he was going to be in the movie. Because I might have gotten kicked out of the theater.
Probably.
I might have gotten kicked out from how big my reaction would have been. I would have lost my mind.
If you had no idea what was coming.
Oh, if I had no idea, I would have, I don't know what I would... I think I needed to know that they were going to be in the movie, honestly. I think it's better that way.
All right.
Because I think my heart would have exploded.
It was a great moment.
Because then Toby would have popped out and I wouldn't have, not known, but, been, 90% sure.
Yeah.
I think I would have lost my goddamn mind. I think it would have been bad for the people around me. Honestly.
I would have had to,
Oh, I'm sure I would have, shot my arm. I might have, smacked you in the face. You know what I mean?
Just assaulted the whole row.
I'm very large. It could be very dangerous if I'm not in control of myself.
Don't surprise Nerdy.
Yeah, seriously, don't surprise me. Do not sneak up behind me, because I am known to turn around and punch people in the face. Wow.
You're known for that?
How
many times have you done that?
Oh my god. What is the Halloween thing at COP called?
Oh, Screamfest.
Yeah, I punched someone in the face. They jumped out at me with a chainsaw, and I knocked them on their ass.
You're awful.
They were just too close. They were too close, and they jumped out, and I literally just popped them in the jaw, and they were flat on their ass.
You're a terrible person.
Yeah, it was not great. I'm not good at haunted houses because my fight or flight response is always fight because I got bullied a lot as a kid, and so
Great. I will never take you to... I will never throw you a surprise party. I'll never take you to haunted houses. And...
It's okay if you're not within arm's reach. You just... Because you'll see my arms go up. But if you're within arm's reach, I will swing. It's not great. It's not a good thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I got beat up a lot. And so my response is to, like, hit first so that I don't get hit. You know what I mean?
It's like my response in video games when I just start pressing every button when I get surprised.
Yeah, it's pressing every button, but it's my limbs. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and so we get Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, because they're like, Ned's like opening portals looking for Peter. And
but before we get Tobey Maguire... Zendaya's like, crawl.
Prove it.
Crawl for me. And like, if Zendaya was like, crawl for me, I'd crawl for Zendaya.
I would bark for Zendaya. Yeah, 100%. Whatever she asked me to do.
But I'm not Andrew Garfield, and he will not. But you know who he will crawl for? Lulu.
Yeah.
Because we'd all crawl for Lulu.
Grandma. Yeah. Yeah. Can you just get that cobweb up there in the corner?
I was hoping that he was going to be like, no, that's a friend of mine.
No, I know him. Jesus Christ. That was a good bit. That was a good bit with him hanging off the ceiling. And she's like, crawl.
That whole scene was good bits. And it was tough because it came after, like, me being emotionally devastated.
Oh, God. Yeah.
But we get Toby, and then he and Andrew see each other, and they and flip.
They do the exact same thing, and it's fantastic.
And then Toby gets the drop on him, though, because Toby's older. He's more experienced. He gets that web shooter.
Yeah.
With that, before Andrew can get his second web off. And I like that they gave Toby that win.
Yeah.
Because Toby has been Peter Parker for, like, 10 more years than Andrew Garfield at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe even more.
At least.
And so I really like that they gave Toby the win on that. Mm-hmm. And not in a mean way, not in a, like, no one's getting put down, but just showing, like, that experience is valuable.
Yeah, 1,000%.
And I thought it was a nice little addition. Mm-hmm. And then Lulu's like...
clean up the webs, clean up the mess you made.
But says it in Tagalog, and no subtitles. They made Ned translate, and I really appreciated that.
And then she's like, I'm going to bed.
First viewing, I half expected Toby to, like, respond in Tagalog. Like, I just thought they were going to be like, oh, he's been around New York for so long. Like, he's, like, the elderly Spider-Man, like, knows all these languages and stuff.
Yeah.
But, no, I really appreciated that they had her mostly speak in Tagalog. And then, like, she clearly knew some English.
Yeah. She's like, I'm going to bed.
But I really liked the way they handled that. And I thought it was a nice way to, like, really bring Ned's, like, family and his culture and whatnot into the movie in a way that I think that people... I think there are going to be a lot of Filipino people who see the movie and are, like... that brings them a lot of joy and makes them feel seen in a Spider-Man movie, and that's important to me.
Yeah.
And so I'm really glad Disney handled it that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was great. Mm-hmm. And then we find out that, like, Toby and Andrew are there because they like feel like they need to find Peter.
Also, unsurprisingly, they know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
What?
So they have the sense. And I do like that Tobey Maguire's like, I think that he needs me.
Yeah.
And then
I was like, what?
I think he needs us.
Yeah.
Why are you leaving me out of this, bro? I'm in the suit.
Yeah. Yeah, they have this, the spidey senses. They know what they're there for. And so...
The Peter Tingle.
So he's like, where would Spider-Man go? And Zendaya's like, I know.
I wanted that third... Okay, let's try one more time. Miles Morales. We didn't get it, but God, I wanted it.
Yeah.
And
there was a nice little reference near the end, though, which was nice.
Zendaya's like, you know what?
Retired Ten Rings assassin with all the knives.
Ooh.
I would love that.
Those knives have to be a reference to something. I have to look, but I don't know.
Because they lingered on them, so they
showed them off.
They're purposeful somehow.
I think it's a reference to something that alludes to Ned's magic, right? Because he says like, "Oh, there's magic in my family" in the Doctor Strange scene earlier.
Yeah.
I love that Zendaya's like, "Oh, I know where he went." Mm-hmm. It's to this very important location because it was at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
But like, was that important to Peter before this movie? Was that his spot? We've never seen him there before.
I don't know.
It was just weird. They were like, mine's the Chrysler Building, mine's the Empire State Building. Oh, Peter and I were on top of the school one time.
It was probably their go-to spot. They probably spent a lot of time there.
When? They've been dating for like a week.
What? No.
Yes. Yeah, they've been dating for a week.
No, they had to go through all the school applications and rejections. That takes months.
Oh, yeah.
That takes months. They've been together a while.
Well, yeah, I guess since the beginning of the semester. So a few months.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
So they must have spent a lot of time.
Well, no, didn't they start dating they were dating in Far From Home.
Which is like at the end of the summer.
At the end of was it the end of the summer or was it the end of last year?
Yeah, because no, it has to be the end of the summer because Peter Parker is revealed to be Spider-Man right before the school year starts, which happens at the beginning of this movie, which is the end of the last movie. So it can't be that long because there's no time between movies.
No. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
Yes, there is a Daredevil cameo.
That was way at the beginning. We talked about that.
Yeah.
He had some issues with knife-wielding ninjas. Maybe she's a member of the Hand. What if Ned's grandma is a member of the Hand? Or is like a retired member of the Hand?
I have no idea.
I would love that so much, SG. That would be so funny. Anyway.
I have no idea what that means. But
the Hand are these like this ninja cult that Daredevil fights in the Daredevil series. They're big in the comics. They're like all over the comics.
Yeah.
They're Daredevil antagonists.
But anyways, they find Peter on top of the school, and
my favorite scene in the whole movie.
MJ and Ned come over and hug him, and it's beautiful and it hurts. And then
this is where I start crying again. So this is cry number 3.
Yeah, and then our Spideys show up.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of hop down, and Peter's like, whoa, what? Understandably so.
And I had said in a trailer reaction, like, the one thing I wanted from this movie, more than anything else, if Toby and Andrew were in it, was for Toby, Andrew, and Tom to talk about Uncle Ben.
Mm-hmm.
And because I thought we were finally going to get some answer as to what happened to Tom Holland's Uncle Ben in this movie. And the big twist of this is that this Spider-Man never had an Uncle Ben.
Yep.
Which explains a lot about the character up until now.
Yeah.
Because every other Spider-Man has been burdened with great responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And this Spider-Man has always felt a little bit flighty about that. He's always felt more juvenile than the other Spider-Man. Partially because Tom Holland looked more like an actual high schooler. Mm-hmm. But also, and we learned this now, because this Spider-Man didn't experience great loss until Tony Stark.
Yes.
And that was in a war zone. Like, that was more expected. He didn't experience a personal loss until May. Mm-hmm. Years into being Spider-Man, as opposed, and like at the end of high school, whereas the other two both experienced it in like their freshman, junior year, or freshman, sophomore year. And it explains so much about this Spider-Man being so different in his first 2 movies from what we typically think of as Peter Parker.
Yes.
Because he didn't have the loss yet, and now he has the loss, and so we get real Peter for the end of this movie, and this scene sold that to me. I literally have chills just thinking about how this works, right? Like, it was so well done.
Yeah.
And it makes Homecoming and Far From Home way better movies to me, because it explains his immaturity. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And it's hard when you are making a movie that has such in-depth source material, right? Because a lot of people just assumed that Uncle Ben is there and exists, even though like they haven't haven't seen it, whatever. But now we know, and now like I think it allows this Peter to be his own version of it, but still Peter Parker. Right? Mm-hmm. And Peter always comes back to the same place. Like at his core and in different versions of him, there is always that heart underneath of it all. Yeah. It doesn't matter whether it's Aunt May helping him, whether it's Uncle Ben helping him, it doesn't matter. It's really, really phenomenal. Oh my God, Andrew, thank you so much for that super chat. Andrew, thank you. Wow. That's like a super duper duper chat. Finish your thought and then we'll get to his comment. That's pretty much it. I think that it is a struggle, and I think that is the criticism that he had in the first 2 movies was that he doesn't feel like the other Peter Parkers that we know. He's not carrying the weight that they're carrying. Yes, and it's because he didn't have it. Yeah. Right? I think it was very smart of them. Anyways, Andrew. Thank you. Andrew says, since Matt Murdock is officially part of the MCU and with Charlie Cox reprising his role, do you think it's possible we will see Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage integrated into the MCU as well? I think we'll see 3 of the 4. Which one do you think we won't see? Jessica Jones. Nope. Really? Nope. Oh, Iron Fist? Yep.
If we do, it will be with a different actor because well, actually, you know what? Andrew Garfield's movies are pretty... If they do bring in that version of Danny Rand, it will be to redeem the way that people view that show.
Here's the thing. I think Jessica Jones is too dark for the MCU.
They're going to do Moon Knight, though, so I don't know.
That's
You know what I mean? Like, the Moon Knight teaser that we saw is so bloody and violent.
I mean, it's bloody.
I don't know.
It's bloody, but Jessica Jones deals with really, like, horrendous trauma that I've never seen the MCU dive into.
I would argue that WandaVision comes close. In terms of talking about grief and trauma.
Not the sexual and the rape
100%,
stuff.
100%.
Like,
I'm not saying the same, like, kind.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that there is a version of Jessica Jones that they do where they take the Jessica Jones from Netflix and they just say...
I love. By the way, I think season 1 of Jessica Jones is a freaking 12 out of 10. It's one of my favorite things ever.
They take Jessica Jones from Netflix
Uh-huh.
and they don't talk about any of that stuff because it's already been dealt with on that show.
Yeah.
So if you want to go dive into that part of her character, you go watch the Netflix shows. They're going to move forward with Jessica Jones in this world. I don't know that there's a reason to bring Jessica Jones into this right now.
Me neither.
I think Luke Cage is the most likely outside of the people we already know. I think Punisher is iffy because I don't know that Marvel wants to deal with the Punisher of it all. But I think that Luke Cage is the most likely Andrew Naftal.
Brent.
Yeah, I think Luke Cage is the most likely.
Brent. Hi.
Yes, hi Brent. That's our plaid.
Plaid?
Our plaid. Do you not remember?
Plaid.
Yeah, that's
like
what
that's what
plaid is what they call the Disney. When we went to Disney, he was our plaid. Remember?
Oh, I didn't know that they're. I was like plaid, like the Canadian pattern. I don't know.
Avtalik says there is rumors of Jessica Jones cameo in She-Hulk. Perfect way to bring her in.
I would love that. Look, I love Jessica Jones so much, and if she shows up, I will be so happy. I guess because they dealt with all of that stuff in her show, that it's fine. But
Shin is saying that Mike Coulter is on a show right now, so I don't know that he'll be Luke Cage. Marvel will find a way.
Who's Finn Jones?
Iron Fist.
Apparently, you look like him.
Thank you. I worked on Iron Fist. I actually worked on all of the Netflix Marvel shows except for Luke Cage at some point.
Damn.
But in Iron Fist, I was a body double. And so
for Iron Fist?
No, for a stuntman. Basically, they shot the fight the day before, and the stuntman had to fly out, and so they needed someone to play his body on the ground.
Gotcha.
And so I spent...
The beard thing?
Yeah, so I was hired for Iron Fist, and so I showed up to set, because I'd worked on those shows a lot, and so they called me up being like, hey, can you come in tomorrow? You're tall. And I was like, yeah, of course. I wasn't even doing extra work at this point, but they called, and so I was like, yeah, of course, I'll show up. Like, I love working on the Marvel shows because they paid me really well, and they were always easy days. That crew was one of the best crews in New York, and their days were always, even though they were doing complicated stuff, they're always the easiest days for the extras, and I always appreciated that.
Love that.
And so I spent like an hour and a half, almost 2 hours in makeup to have my hairpiece done and to have this huge, because I was clean shaven, and this big beard that this guy had, they meticulously made it on my face. Best fake beard I've ever worn in my life. And so we go down to set, and I've been in the makeup chair for 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And they're like, all right, hey, David, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to lie down right here. And I was like, okay, so I laid down face up thinking they did all this work because...
They want to see...
They needed it. And they're like, oh, no, face down, face the wall. I was like, okay. So I laid down face down, and I was like, this poor makeup artist just worked so hard for something that no one can ever see.
No,
and
no
in the
one's
shot, you can't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny.
That's so sad.
But I got to meet Finn Jones, and I got to meet Rosario Dawson.
That is very cool.
And Rosario Dawson and I sang show tunes on set together, which is like one of the highlights of my life.
That's very cool. Very, very cool.
Shin says, Danny Rand as a character I always found to be problematic. I feel like they should just retire the character, but if they do continue with Danny Rand in the MCU, it definitely needs to be recast. If they do Danny Rand in the MCU, he should be Asian, in my opinion. But I think that if they're going to bring if they want to bring Iron Fist into the MCU, what they should do is just bring Jessica Henwick in as her character from Iron Fist and have her be the Iron Fist like she is at the end of season 2. Because Jessica Henwick as Iron Fist is the only interesting thing about that show to me.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Brent Sennett went to high school with someone who was Zendaya's stunt double for No Way Home.
Very cool. Yeah. I love that.
I wonder if the stunt double was also taller than Tom Holland's stunt double.
Probably. They generally have to be about same height. So
yeah, but it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
All right, let's get back to where we were at.
So we were at the Spideys all finally meet for the first time. Mm-hmm. They connect. They talk about Uncle Ben. They talk about their losses. Andrew is like, I lost my Gwen. I lost
oh
Gwen.
my god, I lost my Gwen.
And it was like, and I was like, God damn.
I really don't like Amazing Spider-Man 2. I've been very open about that.
It's not a
but the Gwen moment and everything from the Gwen moment to the end, I think is really great.
Yeah.
And I just because it hits so hard and it's so effective.
Yeah.
And so. Yeah, we'll get into the Gwen of it all later because that's my hardest cry in the movie, but we'll get there. This scene to me is the best scene in the movie. Yeah,
it is a beautifully well done scene. Mm-hmm. None of it feels contrived. None of it feels forced. You know, like there was of course an expectation from the audience for this moment, right? Mm-hmm. You know, and for them to just let it be natural and not try to like fit in a bunch of stuff that people were like wanting or expecting. They did it in a way that felt really natural for the characters and was a joy to watch. And like the way, you know, the whole great power comes great responsibility moment was beautifully well done. They all talk about their losses in a way, like, you know, like he's like, you don't know how I feel, but in a way they do.
And, because they're the same person.
Yeah. And they've all experienced their own loss, but the worst kind of loss, you know?
Well, and I think it was just, for me, it's that it was a scene about men sharing their feelings.
Yeah.
And, like, being honest about sharing their feelings in a way that you don't get a lot of.
No.
And it was, like, healthy masculinity.
Yeah.
And it was, Peter and Andrew both acknowledged that they had really dark periods. Mm-hmm. And they want to save Tom Holland from that. Yeah. And we see them literally do that later in the movie. And so, it sets up so well, like, moments later on where, like, Andrew Garfield is like, I always wanted brothers. And like these three guys spend so little time together, but their connection is built so quickly and it tells the story so well that it's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. Mm-hmm. So they convince Peter, they're God, from here on out, it's Tom, Andrew, and Toby, because it's too hard to keep saying Peter.
Peters.
As they joke about in the movie.
Yeah.
They decide it's science time. And we get they go down into the school because the high school has everything they need to cure the supervillains of the movie.
Luckily high schools keep like fully fledged science labs. I never had that. Jesus.
And so we get Andrew says, "Oh, I'll cure Lizard. I've done it before. No biggie."
Yeah, whatever.
Which we've seen. He can.
Yeah.
Tom Holland is close on Lizard and on Sandman.
Lizard, no.
Yep, Lizard and Sandman. And Electro. He's going to handle those three. Or no, sorry. No. Andrew's going to cure Lizard.
Yeah, Andrew's got Lizard.
Tom's got Electro and Sandman.
Yeah, and then Toby is like, I've been thinking about Goblin for a long time. Mm-hmm. So I think I know how to do this. And makes the serum.
But he looks at Peter and he's like, we're curing all of them.
Yeah.
Because Peter says, like, I want to kill him. Right? Peter is down to kill Green Goblin.
Yeah.
And Toby goes, no, I've thought about this a long time. I'm going to cure him.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of weight in that. There's a lot of weight in it, but it's so right. It's so right. This movie is so right. They get it. They nail it.
Yeah. Peter does not go to a private school. He does?
Yeah, he does.
I thought he was poor.
Yeah, it's not paid for, but he goes to Midtown. Basically, he goes to like a special school for really smart kids.
I went to a private school and we didn't have a lab like that.
Not the same. He goes to like the science high school for all of the United States.
Okay. My school is for people with learning disabilities. So
that's not the same thing.
Not the same.
Yeah.
Cool.
Your school was not a funnel for MIT the way that Peter's is.
No.
Peter goes to a school for literal geniuses.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's in the comics too.
Well, that's
certain comics.
Nice for him. Okay, so that does make sense then why they would have a lab like that. That Okay, that checks out.
And so Ned cruises around to find out if there were other Ned Leedses.
Hey, do you have a best friend too? And Toby's like, I did. He died in my arms
after he tried to kill me.
And Ned is like...
And this is where, like, I thought Ned was going to be Hobgoblin at one point, and we didn't. I really thought we were going to get a variant of Ned who's the Hobgoblin in the final fight. I was really excited for it.
We didn't need it.
We didn't. No.
There was
no. The final fight.
So much in this movie. Yeah. We didn't need it, and so I'm not mad about it. But yeah, at one point I thought that that's where this was going. Mm-hmm. So yeah, super interesting.
Richardson detects a bit of jealousy.
It's fine.
So they finish all the cures, and they get ready to go. Uh-huh. And so Peter calls in to the Daily Bugle.
Yeah.
Calls into J. Jonah Jameson's little talk show. And my favorite part of this interaction is he's like, if the world is watching, and J. Jonah Jameson's like, they are.
Oh yeah, everybody is watching my show. Uh-huh. I'm super famous.
Also, the supplements call out earlier when he's like, Daily Bugle supplements. I was like, wow, they're really coming for Alex Jones right now. They're like straight up calling out Alex Jones. And you know what? They're right to. I'm not going to swear because we haven't dropped an F-bomb yet, but I will. Oh, I think you did, but I will say this: Alex Jones can
suck it.
Can suck it.
Yeah.
Because Alex Jones is a piece of trash.
That is true.
Is
dumpster fire.
Human trash.
Yeah.
Granted, anyone who says that the Sandy Hook shooting was faked is trash.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That's just facts. That is science. That's not.
I'm comfortable saying that.
Oh yeah. Absolute dumpster fire.
I'm very comfortable saying that actually. So he calls into the show and he's like, yo, I'm on the Statue of Liberty. And J. Jonah Jameson goes, oh, it's going to destroy another landmark. And I was like, you know what? He's kind of
right. Yeah. But hey, everybody can find it. So, like, that's what's important. And there's not going to be any people at the Statue of Liberty. So it's the best, like, it is the best possible place in New York that they could have chosen.
Sure.
Come on.
But J. Jonah Jameson's right.
Oh, he is. Yeah. It's just funny.
And so he makes sure to show the box.
Yeah, he's
in the shot.
I got the box.
And then he ends the call. He calls out the villain, says, "Meet us here. Let's freaking go. It's go time." Mm-hmm. And then he tosses the box to Mary Jane and Ned, and then just forgets about them and doesn't check to make sure the portal closes because he just assumes that Ned knows how to close a portal. He doesn't.
Spoiler alert, he doesn't.
Spoiler. Then we cut to something that was actually spoiled for me in a YouTube thumbnail before the movie. Andrew Garfield cracking his back. So to those of you who are posting the movie on YouTube before it came out, you're the worst.
You're a dick.
And
people who spoil things in their YouTube thumbnails and titles are the worst.
Before the movie's even out. Like, look, leaking movies isn't cool.
Yeah.
It doesn't make the viewership experience better for anyone. No. Nobody, like, and if you're the person clicking on the links, you're part of the problem. I'm sorry, but you are. You are ruining your own viewership experience. And I don't know why you would do that or want that.
Yeah, I've never understood, people spoiling movies for themselves. But hey, if that's your kink, we don't kink shame here.
I will kink shame. I will 100% kink shame if your kink is ruining the movie for other people.
No. If it's ruining the movie for other people. If it's ruining the movie for yourself, I mean, well, eh.
Yeah, but you're still part of the problem.
I know.
You're how those people are making money.
I was trying to make a joke.
Anyway. We get the brothers scene, which is great. They're like prepping together. They're getting ready. Andrew Garfield cracks Tobey Maguire's back, which is cute.
It's very fun.
And very fun. And I realized that I love Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh no, I think I love Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. Like, I think I will watch the Amazing Spider-Man movies with more joy now than I used to.
Here's the thing.
Because of this movie.
Here's the thing. Andrew is fantastic in this movie.
He's so good. Yeah.
I don't think he's great in the Amazing Spider-Man movies.
I think he's one of the best parts of them. I think he's consistently one of the best parts of them.
Yeah, but that's not saying much because there's not a lot of great parts in them. He is just like an alien among humans in a way that he does not know how to act among people. It's very odd to watch.
I don't agree with that. I think he's I think he's just too cool. But I don't think he's like atypical in those movies.
He is so the way that he speaks is I have never spoken to anybody like that in my life. And I have met characters. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I don't agree with that. I think he's a pretty normal dude. He just is too cool.
he does not come across as normal to me.
Right.
I don't think... Like, I think he was trying to, like...
I think the writing's weird, but I don't think, like, he's, like, coming across as, like, not a person.
The writing is also weird. But I think he made a strong character choice with the, like, script that he was given.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying it was the wrong choice, because I don't know how else you would have played that script. I think the script kind of did him real dirty.
John Elite 45 for life says, between the three, who fits better for both of Peter Parker and Spider-Man?
For both?
I think Tom Holland is the best at both.
After this movie, 100%.
Yeah.
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 I would agree with that.
Although, it's tough. I think Andrew Garfield was never given the movie to really do it. I think that you could make if you were to take Andrew Garfield now and make a really cool, like, Parker Industries movie where he's, like, in his mid-20s,
mm-hmm.
I think you could make a really cool movie like that right now.
Yeah, I loved him in this movie, whereas I didn't love him in his own movies.
But there are rumors of more Andrew Garfield moving forward.
Mm-hmm,
there are rumors of him maybe being, like, pulled into the Secret War show or something like that. And after this movie, I would have been on board before this movie, but after seeing his performance in this movie, I'm so on board.
Yeah.
Andrew Garfield pulled, like, a level of Peter Parker out of himself for this that I don't think he achieved in the other two.
Yeah.
And I was enraptured by him the whole time. I thought he was absolutely fantastic in this film.
Yeah. I agree with you for sure.
I love Andrew Garfield. Like, you guys don't know. I got to see him do Death of a Salesman in New York with Philip Seymour Hoffman, and he is, like, a genuine, remarkable talent.
Mm-hmm.
Like, an unbelievable talent.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I love him, and I just want to see him do more stuff.
Yeah.
I think he is an Academy Award caliber actor who just hasn't been given the right project yet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I just love that he was in Doctor Who. That just gives me life.
As playing an American.
Yeah, always an American. There were actually, it was interesting. In his own movies, I think his accent was great. There was, like, 2 moments where I heard his accent come out just a teeny little bit, and it made
his British accent in this.
It made me giggle a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Nothing like bad. But I was like, oh yeah, I hear that.
So here we are.
Final fight.
It's time. It's big old battle. It's hard to spoiler chat, like, the fight itself.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to give you a play-by-play. You've seen it. It's amazing.
It was well done. I don't think that there were any like, weak links in it. I think that everyone did their thing. I loved the arc of the Spideys learning that they need to coordinate, right?
I also, my favorite part about that is the one gets whipped in the face, and he goes,
like,
gross.
Oh, gross. Well, because that was Andrew who got hit in the face, right?
Oh, is it Toby's web?
I think it might have been his, like, body web, because they make fun of him for being able to he just has his own webs. And
are you guys making fun of me? No. It's just weird.
Just weird. Like, does it come out of just your wrists, or does it come out of other places?
I mean, it's hard to tell, right? Because it's a sticky fluid.
Yeah, don't like that.
It's the same color.
That was a choice. Come on.
Here's the thing. Ever since they made the decision for the movie version to be able to make it, it's been weird, right? Because it's like, it's a white sticky fluid coming out of a man's body. It's always, in the comics, it's web shooters, right?
Yeah.
And so I remember when the movie came out, and I was like, oh, at 7, I was like, that's weird.
Ew, gross.
No, he's a scientist. He makes the web. Yeah, and that's like part of the comics, right? Is that he's smart enough to make the web. But, so one of the Spider-Man gets a facial. And...
Wow. Demonetized.
Another one gets clotheslined. And so they meet, and Sandman starts to build up. So they have a moment in all the sand craziness. And let's talk about Sandman for a sec, because I love that Sandman shows up to this final fight with a different motivation than everyone else.
Yeah, he just wants to get home.
He wants to press the button.
Yeah.
He's in button press mode.
Yeah. And he knows he needs to be there. Because at first I was like, well, why is he there? But because before the other people destroy the box, he needs to press it to get home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, he wants to see his family.
Well, and he is worried that something's going to go wrong. In all of this, he's worried that something's going to go wrong. The box is going to get destroyed. He's not going to get home. Mm-hmm. He's like, if I can just get to it and press it, I'm going to end this. Yeah. And I really loved having him have that. I liked that not all the villains, it was kind of Sinister Sixy with 5 people. but they weren't like in sync with each other. They had their own motivations, and despite the fact that there are 5 of them, I understood where each of them was coming from. Yeah, and I was super into it.
Yeah, for sure.
The one who maybe I don't understand why he's in the final fight is Kirk Connors, because I don't really know. I don't know what his goal was. I think to like not go home, but I would have liked another bit of Lizard to like really sell his like. He's just kind of in the final fight being a lizard. J. Jonah Jameson could be the 6th, Richardson 7. Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
Seriously though.
But we do get the fun scene in the sand, which is the homage to the pointing, right? Where Peter 1, Peter 2, and Peter 3 are trying to point out.
No, I'm Peter 2. No, you're Peter 2. Yeah.
And we got them pointing at each other in a triangle.
It's
congratulations. We all got the meme. And
that's funny.
Peter, that's not helpful.
Tom
goes, I was on a team. I don't want to make a big deal out of this, but I was in the Avengers.
And Toby's like, wow, the Avengers, cool. What is that? Are you in a band?
No, Andrew Garfield says we're in a band. And I love how excited he is.
That he's in a band.
He's so excited about the idea of Tom Holland being in a band for some reason.
Yeah, very fun. Loved that.
And I also loved Toby's... How is this helping?
Yeah. He's like, okay, but like back to the matter at hand.
One at a time, trust your tinkle, let's go. And then I cried again because the 3 of them jump off of the building and they're whooping on the way down as they swing together.
Yeah,
and
that moment was beautiful.
I was on fire. My skin, I could feel ripples of electricity going around my body because that swing of the 3 of them together was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And their joy at flying together and then the land together on the top of the Statue of Liberty. I want that on our wall.
Yeah.
Like that will be that is going to be a print in a wall of the streaming room, I promise.
Somewhere, yeah.
The 3 of them landing together is so good. And I cried. Like I cried literal tears of joy, which I haven't done since Avengers Endgame came out. It was amazing. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Like what a brilliant moment.
Oh, so we missed your cry number. Cry number 4 for you was when they talked great power comes with great responsibility, right? That was cry number 4. Was that cry number 5 or no?
That was 5.
Yeah? Okay. So that was cry number 5 for David. Mm-hmm. The one thing that JJ pointed out, which I actually agree with, I think that the fight overall was really cool and there was a lot to keep track of. I don't think that there was a like chunk of this fight where I was like, this fight choreography is really cool. And I think, like, you said you're spoiled after watching Shang-Chi because the fight choreography in Shang-Chi was, like, top tier level. And I do agree with that. I think that what made this fight great was the scale of it and having the Peters and having the villains and them having their story arc of learning to work together. There was no like individual like fight moment where I was like, whoa, it was the storytelling of the fight as opposed to the choreography of it, if that makes sense.
Well, because they're fighting people with superpowers, so the fighting isn't like combat.
Yeah, it's sand.
Like no one's fighting Electro, right? He's just blasting them.
Exactly.
But it was the teamwork and the strategy and the like friendship. It's about friendship.
Family.
The quality of the fights were the friends we made along the way, okay? I agree with you. There wasn't like combat that I was super invested in. It was it was more of a battle than it was a fight. Yeah.
It was the scale of it was different. Mm-hmm. And I think that different types of fights, you just handle them differently. Having
said that though, I felt like I understood where everyone was the whole time.
Yeah,
which is tough to pull off.
Yeah, when you have a fight with that many people in it, and that many, like, main people in it, that is impressive. So, well done, because we got a really good idea of the battlefield being the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, I think that's what sticks out to me the most, is that, especially on the second watch. On the first watch, I could barely see. I was crying so hard. Like, literally, tears of joy were squirting out of my face. The poor people sitting in front of us. But, The second time watching it, I was so struck by how well constructed the entire sequence was that I never really lost sight of what was happening. Especially once MJ and Ned come back through the portal because the lizard is chasing them around, and they become a part of the whole thing too.
Yeah.
The fact that I kind of had an idea of what everyone was doing the whole time was a real testament to the planning that went into the sequence.
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine how they made it. I really can't imagine how they made it, right? This is one of the most intricate battle sequences ever. And I don't feel like they made any mistakes like they did in Endgame where there's 2 Draxes. Which I think is my favorite. My favorite part of Endgame is there is a shot where you can clearly see Drax fighting at 2 different places.
That's funny. I didn't know that was
in one of the big shots, he's like over here doing something, and then he's also over here doing something. It cracks me up.
That's fun.
But yeah, I was really impressed with the scope of it and with how pinpoint the precision of that was.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So we get Sandman gets cured, which is really awesome. Lizard gets cured,
and in both of those, the archival footage, because both those actors were not available, and so when you see. And I noticed this immediately. I was like, that is... Because we had just watched the movie.
We just watched it. It's the exact
I was like,
same.
that's the shot. That's the literal shot.
Yeah.
They didn't have to de-age him.
Yeah.
Of Thomas Hayden Church because it's the shot of him becoming Sandman reversed.
Yeah. It's...
Well done.
Yeah. Super well done.
Look great. I'm glad they got them both back for voice work, though.
Totally. Yeah. It would have been weird if they had, like, drawing different voices. But, yeah, and then Doc Ock comes back, and they get Electro his cure as well.
Well, no, because for a moment, let's not skip over it. It's such a good moment. This is, like, one of my favorite moments in the whole movie. Are you kidding me? Doc Ock comes back, and you think for a moment that Electro has, like, short-circuited his chip again.
Yeah.
Because in the fight in the apartment, he's like, I liked you better the old way, and shocks him.
Yeah.
So you think for a moment that he's bad again.
Yeah.
And he's like, they're mine. And then he grabs Toby and Andrew by their necks, and Tom's off trying to save his girlfriend. And so he's, like, about to do some bad boy shit, and then he grabs Electro, grabs the arc reactor, and slaps him with the cure, and I was like, yes! Oh, Doc Ock's a good guy. It's everything I wanted.
Yeah.
So, Alfred Molina, I could kiss you on the mouth, my friend.
Yeah.
You are so freaking good in this movie, and, like, I just love you so much.
Yeah.
But, like, thank you for delivering an A+ performance.
Yeah. We needed it, and it was a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful thing. So yeah, so we got Electro down. So we just have Green Goblin, I think.
Well, no, because first, before we get to Green Goblin, MJ starts to fall.
No, but that's when Green Goblin shows up.
Oh, is that after Green Goblin shows up?
Yeah. Goblin shows up, and because... Oh, no, Doctor Strange shows up first. So Ned tries to make a portal for them to leave, and then Doctor Strange comes back through, and they're like, wait, the plan is working. And it is. They have four of the villains are Gucci, and then Goblin shows up, and Goblin snatches the box, puts one of his bombs inside of it, remember, and gives them back to them. And that's why they explode, and that's why MJ falls. And
before we get, just quickly, JJ Star-Broad brings up the scene between Toby and Doc Ock.
Yes.
And also the scene between Andrew and Electro. And both of those scenes are super important because they're about the Peter Parkers, right?
Yes.
And
Good call.
Andrew Garfield really, like, softens for Max there.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a really, like, that scene was beautiful. And Toby and Doc Ock.
We get a little Miles Morales reference.
We do get a little Miles Morales reference. There's got to be a Black Spider-Man somewhere.
Yeah.
The Toby and Doc Ock have a beat together that is it means so much to me as someone who grew up on Spider-Man 2 and has probably seen Spider-Man 2 100+ times. Their scene together is just fantastic.
It's beautiful.
But yeah, so we get the scene where
there's an explosion. And
well, no, Doctor Strange is up top.
Oh, okay.
And Toby, he's like, I've been hanging over the Grand Canyon for hours. And their response is, he could have used your help.
Like, excuse me, where have you
been? Tom was like, no, that was my bad.
It was very funny. I loved that. That was a good little one bit in the midst of all this chaos. Very, very funny.
Richardson7 says the way he apologizes for not being black. That's also great.
Sorry.
I thought you were wearing a mask. You were helping people in Queens. They'd be black. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That was fantastic. Well done.
I almost feel like Jamie Foxx wrote that scene.
Yeah, I could see that, honestly.
Yeah. It just Jamie Foxx. It fit Jamie Foxx's brand of comedy so well, and Jamie Foxx is brilliant. He's one of the most talented humans on the planet. There's literally not a form of entertainment Jamie Foxx is not successful at. Like literally, he is one of the most like well-rounded talents living right now. Yeah. And I would not be surprised if some of the comedy in this movie was him being like, "This would be funny."
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, Doctor Strange is about to press that button. They haven't cured Green Goblin, but Doctor Strange is not having it. But Gobby wants to know if Peter Parker can come out to play.
Jesus Christ.
Steals the box.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange gets it back, not with a thwip, but with some magic. But he's not paying attention because Steven, you gotta pay attention to the details, my boy. There's a pumpkin bomb in there.
Yeah.
And all hell breaks loose. The shield falls from the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
And MJ falls.
Oh my god, this moment. I can't.
And this is cry number 6.
This is my first cry.
Or no.
This was my cry.
This is cry number 5. I'm not keeping track. Well.
This is cry number 6, yeah.
This is cry number 6.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe there were 8 times. Oh, there's 8 times I cried in this movie. Oh. If this is cry number 6. Tom Holland jumps. And he's diving. And Goblin pulls him away.
Yeah.
And I'm going to cry right now talking about Andrew Garfield dives. And he doesn't use his web. He grabs her and he catches her.
Yep. And lands safely on the ground. And they like the moment that they have where he can't keep it together. He's like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Are you okay?" Because he's like, yeah.
He's not okay.
No,
that's how Gwen died. Okay. And he gets his like catharsis.
I know.
I literally like. I am not gonna lie. I cannot with the moment. It is the. If this was the reason this movie existed, then it's all worthwhile because it was.
Yeah.
Exactly like you need to give. I'm sorry. You need to give Andrew Garfield's character that.
Yeah.
Because he deserves it.
Yeah. It was one of the most gut-wrenching things I've ever seen in like a movie or a show. Like that
I agree with that.
That moment. And it was like it wasn't even long. Like, you know what but we have all that history and we know what happened, right? Like, oh my, like
well,
and
like
Andrew played it so well. Like everything there was it's perfect.
I don't mean this. I don't mean this as a dig to you, but like you have like the history from the movie.
Yeah.
But like I read The Death of Gwen Stacy as a kid.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not trying to play that game, but like
you're fine. I get it.
As a comics reader who loves Spider-Man, this was a catharsis on like one of the few great wounds of comic books, right? Like. Gwen Stacy's death, and I think it's part of the reason why Spider-Gwen is such a popular character, is Gwen Stacy's death is like a trauma that everybody went through together who read comics.
Yeah.
And I was really just... I knew it was going to happen when she fell in the trailer. I knew this was going to come. Because it was the smartest thing they could have done. It was the easiest way to pull at our heartstrings. But then Andrew Garfield's performance took it over the top.
Yeah, he just nailed it hard.
I sobbed. And like, I was like literally like in the bottom of my chair, like clutching myself sobbing. It was violent the first time. So good. So good.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Sorry, I'm not trying to gatekeep it or anything.
No, you're fine. And you're 100% right. Like, there are people who have, like, that has been a part of their Spider-Man experience for years or since they were children. And, yeah, for me, I watched the movie one time and, like, felt for Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker, right? But I think the fact that moment hit so hard for comic book readers and also just like me, like I have seen Spider-Man, you know, like I think it's really well done that it's so affecting. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we get the Tom Goblin fight.
Yeah.
And
on top of Captain America's shield.
Yeah.
What symbolism?
Yeah. He loses it and he goes nuts.
Yeah.
Like he goes nuts.
Yeah.
And he is walloping. The jump over, thwip, and then pile drive of the goblin.
On his head. Wow.
And so
ouch. Like I hurt.
This
and
is
the sound that the shield makes too. Mm-hmm. Like all added to it. Like so brilliant.
And so everyone can see this.
Yeah.
Everyone. And they're all watching and Tom is gonna kill Goblin with his own glider.
Yeah.
And then who jumps down but Toby. He's there with that sweet face.
And he doesn't say anything.
He doesn't need to.
He
doesn't need words.
No, it's perfect.
No.
It's
perfect.
Freaking perfect. And that, this movie is brilliant in so many little ways. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's what matters. And he doesn't say a word.
Because it wouldn't be as effective.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he slowly lowers it before getting stabbed in the back by a goblin. I was like, oh, they're about to kill him. Mm-hmm. I was like, he's dead.
Yeah. But not because he's been stabbed before.
He's fine. Yeah, he's like, I'm fine. I've been stabbed before, which was funny and which was nice. But I thought there was a chance one of the Spideys would die. If they all showed up,
yeah.
I definitely thought there was a chance for that.
Can you imagine if, like, the end of this movie was Andrew Garfield having to go to MJ and tell her that Toby died?
Oh my god.
That would have been awful.
No.
But so, yeah, he doesn't kill him. He cures Goblin.
Yeah.
Tobey Maguire's lying on the ground, stabbed, and he's looking up, and suddenly the sky is purple, and there are people in the sky. Yep. There's a few notable people in the sky. We see Scorpion.
There's some X-Men, right?
No.
Oh, I thought people had, like, zoomed in on some things, and there were some, like, X-Men in there.
There are X-Men in there?
I had thought I had read...
I didn't see any X-Men. I saw...
the second time we saw the movie, I was looking to see if I could try to recognize anybody, and I didn't have enough time to, but I know that people have been, like, zooming into, like, those scenes. So I don't know, but...
The ones that I recognize, we saw a Mysterio. We saw a... which is funny, because in the last movie he says he's from the multiverse, so that would be an actually multiversal Mysterio.
Yeah.
I saw Scorpion. I saw Rhino. I think I saw Black Cat. I definitely saw Kraven with, like, an ostrich. The guy with the spear is definitely Kraven. Richard Sim 7. Mm-hmm. Those are the ones I recognized. Mm-hmm. I didn't see any X-Men, but that would be awesome.
And like I said, I didn't see this. This was, like, tiny bit of an article that I, like, glazed through. So, I don't know. Because I tried to look for people, and I couldn't.
Richard Sim 7, I think I saw that Black Cat. I'm pretty sure I saw Black Cat in the end there.
Yeah.
So yeah, just like really fun. But so Toby swings up, Tom. God damn it, Tom swings up to the top, and he's like, Doctor Strange, what the is going on?
Yeah.
And Doctor Strange is like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And Tom says, make them all forget Peter Parker, and it all goes away, right? And Doctor Strange is like, yeah, but the people who love you, we forget you.
Yeah, it'll be like you never existed.
I cried. I think I cried 9 times. I keep remembering times I cried because that made me cry.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange admitting that he loves Peter hurt.
Yeah.
So Peter's like, okay, but there's literally nothing else we can do. The world's about to end.
Doctor Strange's like, yeah, you're right.
And he's like, go say your goodbyes.
Yeah.
And so he swings down and he hugs his spider bros.
Yeah.
And he's like, thank you. This was fun. This is what we do, right? Hey, we're Spider-Mans.
Yeah.
And then he swings up and he does that long handshake with Ned. That's super rad. And I wish that my best friend and I had a secret handshake, but we don't. He just sends me pictures of his dick. That's our thing, I guess. And then...
oh, God.
And then he goes over to MJ, Zendaya, and... she says, I love you.
And he's like, I love... And she's like, no. You say it when you find me again.
But why? It's because she wants to remember the first time he says, I love you.
Yeah.
And that... I was already crying from the top, so I'm not going to count this as an extra time. But that broke me. Like, that literally broke me. Because her reasoning is she doesn't want him to say it and then her forget it.
Yeah.
Bless you. Sorry if you're wearing headphones.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. And Zendaya is absolutely is just perfect in that moment. Like, the way she plays that scene is just...
It's so sad. She's
unbelievable.
Like, what if we don't, like... Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's heart-wrenching. It's like... Well, not quite, I guess. Actually, it's a little bit different. But that moment to me is kind of similar to, like, the Dr. Donna moment in Doctor Who, where that one's a little different because she forgets who she is, which is a different kind. Yeah, it has a different kind of tragedy, right?
It's chocolate and ice cream, but they're both ice cream.
Yeah, exactly.
Or chocolate and vanilla, but they're both ice cream.
It's chocolate and ice cream, but they're both ice cream.
God damn it.
And for some reason, Peter swings away.
Oh, no, I know why.
Why?
He doesn't want to see her forget him. I figured... So the first time I was like, why does Peter swing away before the spell takes effect? And in the second screening, he looks up at Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange nods to him. And then he leaves before the spell takes effect, and it's because he doesn't want to see the moment that she forgets him. Right?
God damn.
That's why I cried in that moment last night, was because I realized that he doesn't want to watch her forget who he is. Isn't that brutal?
Yeah, that's awful. Oh my God. Sorry, Carl.
God damn it, I'm crying again. Like,
yeah, that... Woo! That's,
She doesn't want to miss the first time he says, I love you, and he doesn't want to see her forget who he is. And that, to me, it's so good. Like, it's such a good storytelling. And this movie is just full of it's like John Watts and everyone at Marvel, because I know these are huge movies, but like John Watts as a director focused on all the right stuff. And I don't know what he did to get these performances out of these actors, but he nailed it. And I just, yeah. And so the spell goes through. Everyone gets sent back to where they came from. And Peter Parker is left with nothing. Like, literally nothing. He has no family. Nobody knows who he is. I don't know that he has a social security number anymore, so I don't know if he can get a job.
Yeah.
But he shows up at the donut store to tell them who he is. And he's about to. And he's talking to Zendaya, and he's, like, excited that her and Ned both got into MIT, and then he's about to tell her that he's about everything, and he sees the Band-Aid on her forehead.
Yeah.
And in that moment, he decides not to.
Yeah.
And...
yeah, that was... yeah. That was tough. And he didn't have to say anything. It was all just in his face.
Oh, it's the maturity of Tom Holland as an actor, right?
Yeah.
Like, he is now at a point where, like, he conveyed so much of the end of this movie silently, and you bought and understood all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that moment of... and it's just like a small, like, scratch. It's just a small little Band-Aid, but it represents a hell of a lot.
Yeah. And her saying it doesn't hurt anymore.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Like, God damn it.
And so that was another time I cried.
Yeah.
Because, like, he makes the right choice, right? In a way. But also the wrong choice because he promised. And it's complicated. And it's so... He's Peter Parker. It's complicated.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, if people forgot him, yeah, he does not have any of the Stark tech. That's why he, like, sews himself a new suit. He does not have the connections to anybody that he did before in any way. Spider-Man still exists. Yeah. But it's that nobody knows who Peter Parker is.
None of the Avengers know who Peter Parker is. Yeah. None of them know who Spider-Man is. They don't remember Peter Parker. They only remember him as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And so what's wild about this is that, like, next time he interacts with the Avengers, they're all going to be like, Spider-Man, you want to tell us who you are?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it's really interesting. It creates a lot of possibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one knows who he is. Yeah. Like, I'm assuming, like, he's, like, not in the photos he used to be in. And
yeah, magic.
Crazy.
Right?
Crazy. It hurts so much. And I'm so glad, like, and Kevin Feige came out and was like, Spider-Man 4 is already in development. don't worry.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need to know what happens next because I need to know that he's okay.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, he's not gonna...
I don't care if it's in a comic. I just need to know that Tom Holland's okay.
Yeah.
That his Spider-Man is okay. I know Tom Holland's okay. He's rich and attractive, and he's about to be in an Uncharted movie in 2 months.
He's dating Zendaya. He's fine.
Yeah, he's fine. He's so fine. Also, the video of... Have you seen the video of him seeing Zendaya show up at the premiere?
No.
Oh my god. He is like such a like... He's like, I think Zendaya's here. Like, oh my god, you're such a little golden retriever boyfriend.
You and him would get along great.
I think we would. I think we'd be friends.
I actually think you'd be great friends.
I think Tom Holland and I would be like such little fucking dorks together.
Yeah, 100%.
Anyway.
Yeah. God, what a movie. What a fantastic movie. Like, honestly. I do love that, that even without, like, because Peter has been forgotten, but was obviously like an influence in people's lives. I do still love though that like Ned and MJ have a relationship together. Like
yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, because that's what they said. Like technically everything happened. Everyone just forgets it moving forward. So, like, nothing has changed about the timeline.
Right.
Everything up until the moment they forget Peter Parker's Spider-Man happened as it happened.
It's a spell of forgetting.
They just can't remember that he was there for any of it.
Yeah.
And I think that it's more like they're, like, all a little fuzzy. Mm-hmm. Like, if they try and remember it really hard, mm-hmm. they just can't.
Yeah. I do wish, we said this at the end, I wish we had gotten a really clear shot of his new suit. With the, like, metallic blue. It looked really cool from what we could see of the movement of it.
Well, and the blue feels like it was inspired by Andrew and Toby's suits.
Yeah.
And I love that the suit that he swings in the end of the movie feels like he saw them and he incorporated elements of both of their suits into his new suit at the end.
Yeah.
And so he's, like, carrying the two of them with him.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cry again. I'm such an easy mark. These movies just, like, have me by the balls,
Weak
man.
sauce.
Like...
Yeah.
I loved it I love this movie so much.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite things in the world. And, like, that's hard. I have a lot of favorite things. Mm-hmm. But, like, this is on the list of, like, I think this might be my favorite MCU movie. I don't know that it's the best one. I don't know that I care about best. But in terms of, like, how many times will I watch this movie? The answer to that is, like...
Hundreds.
More than almost any, right? Like,
yeah.
this to me is one of the most emotionally fulfilling movies I've seen in years. Mm-hmm. It has the joy that I want. It has the, like, the sadness and, like, the purpose that I want.
Yeah.
And I genuinely, like, this is one of my favorite movies now.
Yeah.
And I've only seen it twice, but, like, it does so much right by what I understand the soul of Peter Parker to be from the comics.
Yes. What an incredible Peter Parker story.
And I don't know. I just...
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I just loved it so much.
Yeah. Yeah, JJ, I think, like, in our understanding of the spell, it would remove any evidence that of who Peter Parker is.
Yeah, so all video of him's gone. Dragonbaker says, I think Peter might go to the Avengers compound. That doesn't exist anymore.
Oh,
it was
right.
kind of destroyed.
Yeah.
It's kind of a crater.
That's true.
Should we get into some end credit sequences?
Yeah, I mean, one of them is a trailer for Doctor Strange, which looks cool.
Yeah, that's great. I wish we could have done a trailer action for it. But...
Yeah, me too.
It's nice to see the What If Doctor Strange in there. That's fun.
The What If.
And also the eye with the tentacles.
Yeah, super fun.
Yeah.
But not a ton there that I really am looking to, like, analyze.
Rachel's alive in it somehow. So Rachel? That's going to be crazy.
Oh, yeah, the weird wedding scene.
She's alive at the end of Doctor Strange, but they're not, like, close to getting married. She doesn't die, does she? She doesn't die in Doctor Strange 1.
No. I think you're thinking of What If.
No. Yeah, she doesn't die in... Yeah, you're right. I'm thinking about What If. But she's in a wedding dress, so that's interesting.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, we got a little Venom scene as our post-credit.
So here's the question of the day. Why was Tom Hardy brought? into the movie by the spell. Because he doesn't know that Peter Parker's Spider-Man. Because in his universe, there is no Spider-Man.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree, JJ. Shang-Chi is like my favorite. It's so good. Thank you for that. Yeah.
I didn't cry upwards of 8 times in Shang-Chi.
I sobbed during Shang-Chi.
Oh, I cried once, but I didn't cry upwards of 8 times.
I guess. Yeah, I cried once in each movie, but here's the thing. With MJ, it was like a sudden choking up and like tears. Mm-hmm. I, for some reason, was just sobbing through the end of Shang-Chi, and it was so beautiful to me. But yeah, for some reason, Venom gets pulled through, even though he doesn't know who Peter Parker is. And so when we were talking about this by ourselves, I was like, maybe the symbiote has some kind of like connection through its...
Richardson 7 is saying that.
It's multiverse. Mentioned they shared knowledge like a hive mind across the universe. See, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I was like, if the Venom symbiote knows somewhere, they like, because they're all connected in some way, that it has to be that. That's the only reason I can think about, right?
Yeah, and that makes sense. Honestly, that's fun.
Yeah.
And Venom leaves a little bit of himself behind.
Uh-oh.
And we get another comment about Lethal Protector. I love... Look,
Lethal Protector... And you thought Lethal Protector was a shit name.
Yes, because it is. It isn't. Lethal Protector is awesome, Tom Hardy. I disagree. Venom Lethal Protector is a great comic book. Go read it. It's fantastic. Seriously, it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eddie really needs the multiverse. Yeah. Eddie Brock doesn't know, but it's definitely Venom.
Okay, I'll buy that. I'll buy that for $1. I'll buy any... Here's the thing. If the movie tells me any explanation, I'm not one of those people who goes like, I don't know. I go, okay, that's what you say it is. That's what it is, right?
Yeah, fine. I'll take it.
I only disagree. I only have a problem with movies that contradict themselves.
Yeah.
But I will believe whatever you tell me is true about your universe until you tell me it's not true anymore. And then I go, wait, but it was. Yeah. And this movie, despite having some complicated ass shit going on, never does that.
Yeah.
It is logically sound with itself the entire time. Does it work within like what I think the world would work? No. But it 100% can. It 100% is committed to its own plot in a way that I was like, they nailed it, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, they made $600 million this weekend. They crushed it.
Yeah.
In a pandemic.
Yeah.
They did okay. Can't defeat Spider-Man. Okay.
Richard Sims says arguably it'd be worse if May didn't die because then she would forget Peter, and yeah, that would be awful.
You know what, Richard Sims 7? It would be worse.
Yeah,
that would be the worst scene in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't talk about Happy at the grave.
Oh yeah, when Peter is like mourning Aunt May.
Oh my God.
I have a question though, because Happy's like, how did you know her? And he's like, Spider-Man.
Through Spider-Man.
How?
Feast.
What?
Feast.
I don't know what that is.
Feast is where she works. It's the homeless shelter. And so Spider-Man is... that's comic book stuff, right? Spider-Man works with... So there's like... And in the video game, this is a big part of the video game. So Aunt May works for Feast, which is a like shelter that takes care of people after the blip in this. And so Spider-Man helps people get there and helps raise money for it. And so he's a regular and he's on the billboards for Feast. And so I think that's the connection that he's talking about.
But he knew Spider-Man and so he knew Aunt May. How does
No, I think that the implication is that Spider-Man introduced him to May because of Feast. Like he was down on his luck and he needed help. And so Spider-Man, because he doesn't remember Peter Parker, right?
Yeah.
So no one remembers Peter Parker. So anyone who thinks that Spider-Man took them to Feast to get help from Aunt May would remember Aunt May through like he's not saying like I know Spider-Man personally. He's saying Spider-Man introduced me to Aunt May, to May Parker. Because a lot of people in New York's connection to Aunt May would be through Spider-Man.
Okay, yeah. See,
because they would be like, I need help, and Spider-Man would be like, go to Feast. Aunt May, not Aunt May, May Parker will help you there. Right?
Okay.
So I think that's what they were saying.
Yeah, that was something that I definitely missed. But okay, cool. All right, cool.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a weird thing to say. I was like, what do you mean you know? They're not, but they are connected in a way.
But anyone who knew May Parker through Peter Parker wouldn't know May Parker through Peter Parker. They would all know him through her through Spider-Man now. Because that's the only memory they'd have. Mm-hmm. They remember Spider-Man. And everyone now knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, so in a way, everyone would remember Spider-Man being in places, weirdly.
Yeah, very confusing. We'll see how this plays out.
But it works emotionally, and that's all I care about. This movie, 10 out of 10 to me. This is a 10 out of 10. This is on my list of, like, there's nothing I would change. There isn't a single bit of dialogue in this movie that I would change.
The only thing I did not love about this movie is Electro. And I think that is less of a shortcoming on this movie and more of a shortcoming on Amazing Spider-Man.
100%, yeah.
Which is unfortunate because there's not much you can do about that. But Electro has been so inconsistent. And at this point, it was just Jamie Foxx doing a thing. And that was fine. But all of, like, you know, especially Doc Ock, like, Doc Ock and Green Goblin have really strong personalities, whereas Electro doesn't. You know, like Max is a character in Amazing Spider-Man 2, and, you know, take of that what you will. It's not my favorite, but it's a choice. And then he completely changes. And then in this one, he's different again, and he's just kind of... Like, Jamie Foxx is just kind of doing
But he's a better
cool
character
thing.
in this one.
He is a better character in this one.
This is Electro to me, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah. You just kind of have to disconnect this Electro from the other.
But Jamie Foxx crushes it in this movie, as long as you're not comparing him to the other Electro.
Yeah. And that's the only, like...
But that's why I wouldn't change...
thing that I have.
There's a lot I would change about Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
There's nothing I would change about this movie.
Yeah,
There's nothing. I wouldn't change any of it. I would maybe give Lizard 2 more lines.
Yeah.
And that's the closest I can come to anything I would change.
Maybe tell us why he wanted to stay in the van. But that's the only question I have.
He wanted to stay in the van, whatever.
All right.
That's fine to me. That scene was already crowded, so like if he'd come up, I think it would have just been more complicated.
Yeah, probably.
So will you be happy to hear that in light of this movie, Sony has apparently reached out to Jamie Foxx about doing an Electro spin-off?
No.
Here's the thing. It's Jamie Foxx. I'll go see anything Jamie Foxx does, so sure.
No. I'm okay. Sorry, I don't think he's that interesting as a villain. Like, look, Jamie Foxx is great, but
as a hero, what about if it's his turnaround?
How?
I don't know, but it could be fun.
We took all your powers away, so now you have to learn to be the good guy because we're forcing you to.
Babe, it's a multiverse. It's a multiverse of madness. All right, we should wrap this up because this has been a 2-hour and 40-minute spoiler chat for a 2-hour and 30-minute movie.
Oopsie.
Thank you to everyone who stuck around for this whole thing. You are the best.
Yeah.
As they say, you the best, you the best, you the best, you the best I ever had.
Wow. As the prophets say.
as the prophet Jesus once said.
You the best. Yeah. Oh God. We gotta start getting ready for bed.
Yeah. Remember when I was like, I'm gonna go home after this and pick up our stuff?
Yeah, that's funny.
So final question. Mm-hmm.
What was your favorite suit?
The Toby suit still is a banger to me.
Huh, okay.
The Toby suit to me still, it's just perfect. The Toby suit is just everything I always wanted from Spider-Man.
I don't think anyone will agree with me. I love the Iron Spider suit.
No, I agree with you. I love the Iron Spider suit.
Okay, yeah. I love it. It's extra AF. Mm-hmm. But I love it.
Yeah, I love the Iron Spider suit.
Okay, cool. I feel like some people don't like it. And that's fair. And I do wish we had a clear shot of the shoot at the end because that looks really cool. But I don't know. I just, it's like fancy in a way that I just think looks cool. So.
Oh, no, it's dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Iron Spider suit's great. And any video game where I can play in the Iron Spider suit, I'm in the Iron Spider suit. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or I'm in Toby's suit.
Cool, thank you.
Toby's suit, I think it's just because I was 7 years old.
Oh, for sure.
Totally. And Spider-Man came out when I was 7. It's Spider-Man and The Phantom Menace came out when I was 7. And there's things from those 2 movies that live in me. It's why, like, the Naboo Starfighter is my favorite starship in Star Wars. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, like, I have one somewhere here.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, I'm wearing the same color as the Naboo Starfighter. The Andrew suit with the Tom eyes. Interesting choice, I have to like.
Okay. I do like that Tom's, the Tom eyes move. I think that's super smart. But yeah, I also did really like his other suit Inside Out. the black and gold.
Yeah, there's just too much like wires hanging off of it.
Totally. I loved the idea of it. It was very fun. Anyways, that was my question. Now what was yours?
My question was going to be, I don't know. I didn't have one. I was trying to come up with like a final thought.
Oh, all right.
Do you think Zendaya's in the next movie?
Yes.
I don't.
Really?
Yeah, I think they hold back on MJ for a whole film. And I think that the next film is Tom and Black Cat.
You think there's going to be 5 films?
There's going to be 6. We know right now that Marvel and Sony have said there's going to be 3 more Spider-Man films.
Yeah. And you think Tom Holland's only going to come back for one of them?
I think he's going to be only in the next one. No, I think he's only going to be the lead in the next one. I think he'll be in all 3. But I think that Miles Morales and him will share the lead role for 5 and 6. Yeah.
Okay.
I do.
Right.
I think Miles will be live action, and then I think the next movie. Actually, maybe not. I do think that Tom Holland will have Black Cat for the next movie. It'll be his like college relationship, and he'll realize that she's bad for him, and then he'll run into MJ somewhere.
Yeah,
and
that's fair.
They'll have a spark, even though she doesn't remember him, and we'll get that back.
Yeah. Interesting. Ned is sorcerer. That is very cool. Is he gonna remember that he can do magic?
Yeah, that has nothing to do with Peter Parker. Peter Parker wasn't.
Show us Peter Parker.
No, but he has the moment on the thing with Doctor Strange where Doctor Strange goes, "Did you just portal?" And he says, "Yes." So he'll still have that memory.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, if you like this video, I don't know how you got to the end of it because this was almost 3 hours long. But hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and come back on Wednesday night. Same time as this. It'll be much shorter, I promise. We're going to do a live spoiler chat for the season finale of Hawkeye this Wednesday. We're so excited for some... I don't want to spoil Hawkeye. If you haven't seen it, catch up and see the finale Wednesday during the day. Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, we're doing that. And then this Friday... Christmas Eve, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to be doing a live spoiler chat here on YouTube for the finale of Wheel of Time.
I'm so excited!
Yes. We're going to find out what happens at the Eye of the World. And from what I understand, the end of this book is an absolute mess. So I hope the television show isn't.
Cannot wait. Well, I hope it's a mess in the way that it leaves lots of stuff for season 2.
I want to say a huge thank you to everyone in the chat. Y'all are incredible. Those of you who dropped super chats, thank you. So unnecessary, but so appreciated.
We really appreciate it.
Incredible. Yeah. We're gonna go to bed. It's late.
Yeah.
World.
Yeah, I'm gonna get ready for tomorrow. But super excited. Join us for Wheel of Time on Friday. We're really looking forward to that. And we will also be doing later that day, if you are on Twitch, we will be doing Christmas Eve stream. Just some cooking, some baking, some presents, and maybe some Mario Kart. So if you're hunkering down for the holidays and, the world's still a bit of a mess, so if you want somewhere to come and hang out, you can come hang out with us on Twitch. So yeah, also, if you want more Spider-Man, tomorrow on my Twitch channel, I'll be playing Miles Morales. I'm going to start Miles Morales tomorrow. So tomorrow and Thursday. Heck yeah. You can also support the Nerdy Nightly over at fanhouse.app/nerdynightly and patreon.com/nerdynightly. That's right. We have been moving, so the Patreon and Fanhouse have been a little bit quiet for the last couple weeks. Sorry about that. We haven't been posting there much just because everything's been a little crazy. Yeah. But we're moved in. We have our new studio. Yeah. So expect a lot of goodness. Yeah, you'll be the first to get to see it all. And as always, y'all, my name's Nerdy. And I'm Clarus. What? Sorry, I don't know. You're not ready to end it? You want to go another hour? No. We can really dig into some... We gotta get ready for bed. Good night, everybody. Good night, guys.